take microphone forward.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So good. Is it still morning or afternoon? It's still morning. Then lucky me. So good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and fellows in the making. I didn't get a response. It looks like I've gone to Awudome Cemetery, or is it the Osu Cemetery? So let me try it again this time. So good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And how are we? Are you positioned for the journey, the 4-day journey? Yes. At least you just come back from snack break. So I expect, if I was even worried, but now you are giving me cause to relax. Because I was saying, hey, if they've gone out for snack break and they are coming, then the energy and the fuel with which they are coming, that's why I couldn't even go for a break myself. But I said, these people, they are going to be alert, sharp. But it looks like the snack has rather put you to sleep, which is also good for me. Because now I would have to rather look at how I keep you awake and make sure that we go on the journey together. So my name is Gloria, as he said, a proud 2024 GHANASIG fellow, very, very proud one. You can see my badge here, exceptional badge, which shows that I was there. You see, we were there before. We were there, and there are seniors in the game. So now I'm here as your senior fellow, but in any case, after I become fellows, we all become fellows. There's no senior and there's no junior, but it's good to feel that you were there before. And I was wondering what the sensations would be amongst you now, remembering how I sat somewhere there in my time and how I was lost, as they say, it's sweet confusion. But welcome to the club. Today is 1st July, and we are told that it is, in Ghana, it is what? Republic Day. Republic Day. So it used to be commemorative, but now we are told it's a public holiday, which will be celebrated on Friday. But at least today is still Republic Day. And so I want us to, for ourselves, be proud that the non-Ghanaians should join us in celebrating Republic Days. If we can give a big hip, hip, hip to Ghana. Hip, hip, hip. Hooray! Hip, hip, hip. Hooray! Hip, hip, hip. Hooray! I say that because we are first who we are, be it Ghanaians, be it Nigerian, be it Burkinabe. That makes us who we are. That makes us Africans. And that makes us members of the global community. So it's very, very important to remember and to take note of our identity, and in all that we do, be proud and think towards making sure that whatever we are doing harmonizes with the global agenda, starting from the national agenda. So we are first Ghanaians, we are first Burkinabes, Nigerians, Cote d'Ivoire, Ivorians, before we say we are Africans and the global community. This morning, we want to look at a very interesting topic. I know somebody told me when I got in that the people here are all gurus. They are hard gurus, experts, academicians. And so you are going to make my work very, very easy. And me, I'm a teacher and I'm a facilitator. So I'm not coming to stand here to lecture or to present or pretend that I know everything. No, we are on it together. So I ask questions. And who knows, somebody might get something good from me before I leave this podium. So let's be attentive. So the topic that we have for the day is the international trade and internet governance, taking Africa in perspective. I want to start by asking, as we've gone for a 3-week journey, what do we know about internet governance? How did the internet come into being? Can somebody tell me in a simple sentence or paragraph? Who can tell us about the internet governance system? How did the internet come to being? From APRANET to internet, summarized, simply said, in a layman's language. Who can help to show that you're on the 3-week journey online? Because we want to set the parameters right before we digest this one. Yes, who can help? Please don't let those who praise you feel bad that they praise you. The gurus, please. Somebody should tell me in simple language. Yes, no, not class rep. Anyone at all. What is internet governance about? Because I want to make my presentation short and swift and practical. So even though most of the things are on the slide, we'll be jumping over them as you go on. So who can help? Internet governance. How did the internet come to be in any base? Look, let's take it one by one. How did the internet, as we call this internet today, how did it come to be? I don't want to tell you because I know you know. So who can help, please? One of the sharp ladies, sharp brains, please. My ladies, already I'm aware that you are few. And I want to make a case for an increase in the numbers of the women. So please, do it for me and let me stand on that to ask Egikfa to give more women's quota. Yes. Don't go to your library. I see people have taken their phone. You are now looking. You have gone to your library on your phone. Hey, yeah. So I'll have to consider giving the price or not. But you try. Let's see. Yes, a hand is trying to go up on the third table. Please try. Do you need a microphone, or you can illuminate? You can amplify your volume. Okay, please try.
How we can actually go with those decisions online.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please, can we give it to him? Okay. That's a good one. Yes, please. You can go on. Second table.
So the internet came about.
Please, if you can mention your name, Frank. Then we'll be getting to memorize the names, please.
My name is Frank. So the internet came about because during the war, the US was thinking about how they would react in case there is a distraction on one of their central ports. So they decided that the universities should come together and then set up a network where they can communicate so that in case there's anything, another spot can also handle it. So that is how come the internet came about, where researchers were sharing information in order to be able to work together going forward.
Thank you so much. Please, can we clap for him too? Third, and then the fourth question. The third question, who can tell us what ICANN stands for? I'm sure even this morning it might have been said here before I entered. But let's see. Don't go to your library. Oh. This one, it should be at your fingertips. What does ICANN stand for? Yes, my lady. ICANN.
Internet Corporation for Assigned Names and Numbers.
And what do they do? Just add a little flesh. So you've given me the full name, but what do they do?
So they are responsible for the GTLDs, the domain names and IPs and stuff like that.
Thank you very much. I hope you are hearing what they are saying. Your hand is going up. You want to say something? You want to add? Please give her the mic. She wants to add something. ICANN.
Talking about what ICANN does.
What ICANN does, yeah.
They see to it that one, domain names is available for all, putting universal acceptance into consideration, that everyone should have access, domain names should be saved, making the internet safe for all.
Okay, thank you. Now the last quiz question. What is significant about the year 1983 when it comes to internet and internet governance? What is significant? Yeah. Hey, somebody's getting my prize. So, yeah.
I think that is when the IP was adopted.
Okay, that's one. What else? What else is significant? You are doing well. You are praised and it's true. What else? When you say the IP was adopted, please add more flesh. So you get the full. Can you come clearer and more forcefully? Yes. Somebody should bail you out. Yes, somebody should bail him out. At least these three tables have spoken. The next two is left with you. You have to justify your inclusion. Okay, somebody spoke from this table, so it's left with the last table. Yes. Can you say something about the APRANET to internet? Let me give you a very simple, cheap one. The last table there. Any contribution?
that was formed out of the research collaboration with the universities in the US. But when it was then expanded to the global level, we have the internet. Thank you.
So clap for yourselves. You've all managed to earn something, and that is good. So this is very necessary for us to know where we are going to. We should know where we are coming from. So we all agree that. I have to manage this from here, right? Do I manage it from here? Okay. So looking at international trade and internet governance, as we said, looking at the African perspective, we want to first of all look at the concepts. We want to look at what we mean by international trade, look at internet governance, and look at Africa in perspective. And this morning, in talking about we celebrating our Republic Day, I was reading some material and I read that some years back, Ghana used to be called Gold Coast. He said that we have walked from some places, come through Nigeria, Benin, and settled here. Now, it further says that as we got here and we were living with our chiefs, they said one day they were there at the shore and then a boat arrived and then there were some white men in the boat. And then when they came, they had some small bottles of liquid that when you drink, it can turn your brains upside down. They had powder, they had mirror, they had some funny things that we had never seen in our system before. Now, as they brought those things and we were mesmerized by that, what happened? They said, okay, you can have this, and in exchange, I'll take from you what? Your people. You get it? So you can see that trading started not today. It's been a thing that has been with it's been part of our human systems and our human psychology. We are used to trading. I want something from you, you are looking for what you get in return. Somebody even joked and said, even Eve in the Bible, when the snake went to speak to her, he asked her that, they said you should not eat this tree. You should not eat any tree from the tree. No, if you eat it, you'll be wise. So in exchange for wisdom, she decided to take the apple and eat it, even though they had been told not to eat it. And we know the story of Jacob and Esau, isn't it? When the father asked that, go and prepare me soup. When you bring me the soup and I take the soup and I'm satisfied, I'll do what? I'll bless you. So we have seen that tendency and that trail run through the human system from the ancient of days. It's not only today. But it becomes interesting when we're talking about international trade. Somebody put it simply, and I've never forgotten that trajectory. He says, when you talk about international trade, it's simply, I don't know the names here, so I'll use A, B, and C. It's simply a matter of A buying B's gas from C and selling it at a higher price to D and calling it energy independence. So Ben is buying Gloria's oil, but it's not buying from Gloria, it's buying from Catherine and selling it to Paul at a higher price. And then Ben will call that international trade or energy independence. So that is international trade. And it just means that it's trade that goes beyond our domestic shores, our internal affairs, going beyond the shores, going beyond the border. Then we now say it is international trade. Now, what is the relevance of this to digital internet governance or to say e-governance? What is the relevance and what is the link? While international trade law governs relationships among countries, when you talk about law, just the law, international trade law, you're talking about law that governs business among nations. So you have, like the WTO has got agreements about how we should trade internationally. But when it comes to internet governance, I'm looking at the link between the two. We are talking about how, you remember we asked you what is ICANN? And you say it is a multi-stakeholder body that controls how the internet is governed. So we are looking at the multi-stakeholder process that makes policies to govern the universal usage of the internet space. And in that international usage of internet space, there are no artificial borders. There are no borders and there are no barriers. So it is open and it's limitless. Yet when it comes to trading, it is not open and limitless. When it comes to trading, there are rules that govern trade. So Ghana has got its own set of rules about how trade should go. So we have the Ghana Investment Promotion Center. You have the Registrar Generals, who are seeing the name now. We have various sectors that regulate how trade goes on in Ghana. When you go to Nigeria, there are local laws that govern how trade goes on, and it determines even what taxes you pay, who is allowed to trade, how much capital you have before you trade. In Ghana, for example, the Investment Promotion Center will tell you that if you're a foreigner and you are coming to trade in Ghana, you need to bring a capital of so much. There are areas that Ghana will say non-Ghanaians are not allowed to trade. Only Ghanaians are allowed to trade. And to be the same thing in China, it will be the same thing in Burkina Faso, it will be the same thing in New Zealand or Senegal. So that is where the complexity is. Whilst trade itself is governed by laws and regulations, tax regimes, we are now looking at how this same trade will now operate in a space that is not controlled by barriers. And would we say that because this trade is now happening in a space that is not controlled by barriers, there should be no regulation? I don't think we can say so. Because wherever there's no regulation and wherever there's no order, there will surely be chaos and there will be confusion. So now it is how you and I are going to manage trade, which is regulated by laws and regimes, manage it in a space that is not regulated strictly to say by law, because of course ICANN has also got some regulations, but we're talking about barriers or national laws that will bar internet use. And we know that with internet use, we are talking about interoperability, so that every system that is used on the internet should be able to speak to any other system in another country. That is what ICANN and that's what the internet governance space expects. Now, looking at all this, we are saying that it's not only ICANN, as we know, ICANN is only an example, but there are other multinational institutions, like I mentioned, the WTO, which took over from the GATT, that's the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade. That was in 1947. It was taken over by the WTO, which is now operating. And then there are other specialized UN agencies that also regulate trade in the internet space, as well as regional blocks. We know the AU, the African Union. We have the ECOWAS for our West African sub-region. Then you have the SADC and the East African blocks. We have them also, who also regulate those spaces. We have the Asian community that also have its rules. We have the American bloc. We have the EU. They also have their own regulations. So all these little groups have their own regulations, and yet they want to operate and trade in a space that is saying there should be openness, there should be accessibility, there should be uniformity. And so how are we going to manage this as we go along? Now, I move on to internet governance at the global space. So we are now looking at the global distribution of the internet infrastructure, the networks that affect communities that we call now the internet. Remember, I asked you how the internet came about, and like you rightly said, first it was small networks, starting from the research center and the army groups. And then as they now decided to come together and pool resources, we now moved into what we now call the internet space. This quotation is just there to mesmerize you, to know that some research was done. But don't crack your heads about it. What you said, the definition you gave, is the right one, the simple one, and the go-to one. It's the same thing that somebody else has put here and put 2015. Next year when I'm coming, I hope I'll have your quotation and your rendition of what the internet governance means or what the internet space is, and we'll use it. So we are saying that the nature of the internet, as I said, renders a challenge for traditional forms of governance. Because traditional forms of governance have strict rule, strict, territorial space holding. So Ghana, like today, is celebrating our Republic Day. We want to safeguard our territorial space. And we don't want, even though we are Africans, we don't want to go to overtake us in trade, in sports. Even when it comes to football, we compete in everything. And so your national rules and your national laws will surely be made to safeguard your space. So now we are looking at how, in the midst of the individual rules that govern the internet space and the individual rules that govern the trade space, only looking at Africa for our discussion today. How well can we operate as a continent? And we cannot lie about the fact that the internet has come to make trading easier, isn't it? I never shy to say that when the internet boost came, and then things became digitalized. I remember years back when we were By the way, I'm very old. I'm not a small girl. I'm ancient. I'm not even old, I'm ancient. And I remember when, some time back, when I was in the university, I traveled out. If I want to call my mother in Ghana, in Tema, I was out there. She would have to go to Committee 1 post office and book about 3 or 4 days before, and that she wants to call her daughter, wherever you are, in Hungary or wherever you are. I studied in Russia, Moscow, so she will go and book, and then they'll give her time, because that call has to be routed through maybe UK. If it's a French country, to be routed through France or whatever. So she'll go and book and they'll give her time. I would equally go to a communication center in Russia, and they'll give me time, and then I'll be there at the same time. Sometimes when you call, they want to say, hello, ma. I think you're okay. Then the line has dropped. You say, oh. Then you have to queue again for 15 minutes because they have to call. You know those days. I just want to see how far we have come. So imagine doing business in those days. So those times was one. Another experience for me personally I want to share with you. When the bank started digitalizing, and then they brought those small plastic cards that they call debit card, credit card. My children all went for one. And then they tried talking to this old lady to go for one. I told them that me standing here, I have gone to put my money in the bank, Unity Bank, Ben's Bank. I want to go to Ben's Bank, stand there and say, today I want to withdraw 5,000. Take my paper, sign, let it give to me, let me count there and there. So whether I saw Allah and so yeah, and then I get my sleep. I don't want to talk to any machine. Tomorrow the machine will tell me that I took money when I was not taking money. Oh, you can imagine, they suffered to convince me to take that card. And I always go to the bank, I'll go and queue, when I come to be laughing at me. They said, ma, but you can't do this. I said, no way. And I did that for years, till I saw the light. And I became transformed and born again in the internet space. And now, I don't remember the last time my leg stepped in the bank. Yeah, this morning, the amount of operations I've done on my phone, the money I've moved on my phone, the problems I've solved with my phone, you cannot say it. So this is just that the internet space has really come to push, accelerate development. And that includes trade. Because formerly, like we were saying, we started with barter systems. So even in the villages, I grow corn, I bring my corn, Kate will bring her ripe tomatoes, or she likes cloth. She's a guru in cloth. She knows all the cloths in Ghana. By the way, her side hustle is cloth and dukus. So if you want, and she's a fashionista. So you can see her for that too. So I'll bring my corn, and maybe my daughter is going to get wedded. So I'll bring her 3 bags of corn, and then she'll give me only 1 piece of cloth. Because weddings, those times where you know the inting, so I need the cloth to go and do the wedding. So she'll give me 1 cloth, and I'll bring a bag of 3 bags of corn. That's the way we're trading. Then it's moved to using monetary value, isn't it? That's the local one. And then now you take the corn, and the person will give you money. Teku, Sempwa, Benyotro, those days. Then it became the cities. And so that happened. Then yesterday, somebody told me something funny, and I had forgotten about it. He said, in those days when we were trading that way, our markets were very small. So he says that he remembers that his mother one time went to buy cassava from an old lady in the market. And when she came to cook the cassava, They were all brown, hard, and yellow. And you know, for pan fufu, it would not do well. She took the silver bowl with the cassava and walked back to the market and said, Mami Asantewa, the cassava you sold me is not good. Jiwadie. And she returned the cassava. But you can see that even now, for me standing here, I don't go to local markets 2 minutes away. When I go to market, I'm buying a bulk. So that luxury of buying cassava and then cooking today and then it's not good and just walking across to Mami Asatiwa and say your cassava is not good, it's not even there. That's even on the local line. Then now move it even to the international side where we are trading with Nigeria or trading with Togo, even those are close. But take it that we are trading with South Africa. Now the internet space has come to make all those trading very, very easy and very, very simple. Because with a click of a button, you can get everything moving, you can get payments done, you can get invoices made, and everything is done for you. So this renders trading is of a very problematic thing. And then at the same time, we are trying to look at how we would manage the internet space. So in Africa in perspective, we are saying that the international trade and internet governance are intertwined. We are using digital technologies to impact economic growth. And how we as a continent will navigate these complexities is what you and I have to be thinking about in our various corners where we sit, in our offices, wherever we are placed. How can we use our knowledge of the internet governance space to soften these grounds and make sure that our laws and the policies that we pass rather promote and enhance trade in the digital space rather than hinder it. We are all aware that when you go to countries like China and even Dubai has the same thing. One of the platforms that we commonly trade or commonly communicate on here in Ghana is WhatsApp, isn't it? But those countries will not allow you to use WhatsApp because of trade wars that they have with the owners of the platforms of WhatsApp. Not because of Ghana, not because of Kuku or Kwame, but because of their own wars, they don't allow. So if you go to Dubai, for example, you have to download Botim. So then you ask the questions about how the rules and the laws of internet governance, which is talking about machines being able to speak to itself, systems being able to speak to itself, how the regulators then regulating it, and what can we also do to make sure that this does not affect us negatively. And so this now begs for the question. I remember that a few minutes ago, Madam Sarata was telling us that Egifa, this school always produces a fellow for the ICANN fellowship. There are many more other opportunities. And what I'm saying so is that if you are not at the negotiating table, they'll take decisions that will not favor or augur well. So we have to make sure that we force ourselves into those spaces, become more vibrant in the internet space so that we can speak to the issues. Because you and I are internet users. You and I trade on the internet. Now somebody's decision and somebody's barring people from doing something on the internet is affecting me from freely engaging in trade with my Dubai partners or with my partners in China. But because we don't get into those spaces, Africa is so tiny and we are not able to call for our bids. So access to the internet is one of the issues when it comes to the African perspective. Madam Kate in her presentation gave us real data, so I'm not even going to worry myself about that, about access to the internet penetration in Africa. I think she narrowed on Ghana, but it's just a shadow of what is happening on the African continent. When we go further, I'll show you some of the statistics when it comes to Africa. We are not really penetrating the market when it comes to the access to the internet, even though we are doing well. We are improving. We have moved further from where we were in the early 2000s, but there's still a lot to be done. And then the issue of free flow of data across borders to boost productivity. Oh, you have gone ahead of me. Okay. So this is where I am. So we are looking at how we can use trade agreements to regulate the internet space. And an example is the use of the data protection laws and then the cybersecurity laws. There's a lot of gap in that space. And then there's also the talk of intellectual property rights. So we make our music in Ghana, and then before we hear it's being played in other countries. Have they paid the correct rights to us, even though we are also guilty? Because we are always watching Nigerian movie, watching it, and then even that's for those ones, the women are the most guilty about that one. But the issue is that, are we really paying the rights to those? And this is all about the issue about internet governance and the space. Because it's not physical, the owner is sitting somewhere. But the system should be able to align and regulate so that as trade is now taking a new perspective, and there's nothing we can do about it. That's the way the world is going. It's even going to go deeper and even become more sophisticated, the internet trade. So how can we ensure that intellectual property and cybersecurity and all those are protected? So, broadband. So, in Africa, just as in Ghana, broadband speeds are very low. When you compare, those of you can see sometimes when you get to some airports, the moment you come out of the plane, your phone is already beeping. PP is picked already. The speed is so fast. But in our circles here in Africa, the broadband speed is so low and very slow. Yet we spend so much. We pay more than the Western countries do. Now, I took the liberty of finding out which country in Africa has the cheapest internet. And I was surprised to find out that it is Sudan. But this is 2024 source. So I don't know if anything has changed between that. So I'm giving a caveat. Now they pay an average cost of $2.40 per month for their broadband use. Now Zimbabwe and South Sudan are said to have the most expensive data. We're paying so much. I'm sure, I don't think we would even venture in Ghana to pay this amount. You end up sitting with your data in your office. Nobody will buy. Then I also took the liberty of checking which African countries shop most online. And your guess is as good as mine. It was said that it's Nigeria in 2024. Even though we had 21 million shoppers online, that's the African data, not worldwide. 21 million. So you can imagine the amount of trade, the traffic that is going on. This is in Africa, 21 million. And that is 2% of world online shoppers. So even what we are doing in Ghana, in Africa, with all our 21 million, is nothing to write home when you talk about the world. Which means that if we also do our work well, and we improve upon our infrastructure, we can tap into that international world market, 98% of online shoppers. And that is the catch for us. It means that if we also do our homework well, improve our broadband access, literacy, and all that, we would also penetrate that market. And ask yourself, look at farmers in the north, the tomatoes they are selling. Shea butter is an export commodity. How many farmers in the north have internet access? How many of them are even educated enough to be able to trade on the internet? And these are areas that government policies should look at. Those of you who want to stand for DC, MC, what do you call the one, the assembly member, MP, or whichever rights, CSOs, we should all look at that. Because that's 98% that we are not tapping into. It's a waste, and it's so sad. All at 21 million is only 2% of the international online trading. And that and the top of the list is Nigeria, followed by South Africa and Kenya. And the three countries account for half of the 21 million. That's how good they are on the online shopping. The 21 million, Nigeria, South Africa, and Kenya account for half of that number. So, and looking at the African perspective, we have to look at how we can promote digital sovereignty. so that we develop our own digital capabilities and platforms so that we can assert greater community control over the community. We are not prioritizing at all, and we are giving lip service when it comes to digital governance and education. We are not doing our best at all. And it is, I think this talk has to be taken, I was discussing with Madam Kate that we have to take it up to a different policy level and make sure that we draw attention to the need to look at the digital sovereignty and developing the e-governance space so that Ghana as a nation and Africa can capitalize on the use of the e-commerce, digital trading, and then internet governance. It has to be a policy issue, and all of you have to throw your weights behind that to make sure that it happens. Some of the problems that we face as a continent is the issue of multilingualism. The African continent has different countries. Depending on who you talk to, UN will tell you 54, AU will tell you 55, World Bank will tell you 57, somebody else will tell you 52, depending on who you're talking to. But all these numbers, there are around 50 countries. Most of us use different languages. It's only when you come to the colonized places that you might have a common denominator like English or French running through colonized countries. So you get Ghana, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Liberia speaking English. And that will somehow facilitate trade. But most of the people who indulge in trading, go to Makola. It's now, today, that there's no work, that you find graduate selling. But typically, those who were trading, were they those who have finished Legon or UCC? No. And most of them were not very, very literate. So what I'm trying to say is that we have a lot of work to do to be able to take advantage of that internet space. We have to look at our multilingualism. I was at a conference in Uganda last month, and this issue about getting a common language for Africa came up strongly. It came up strongly. I know West Africa, we've tried with the ECOWAS bloc, even tried to get a common monetary value. But we always do good policies, very beautiful ones, and we launch them, cut the ribbon and the tape, and then that is the end. It doesn't get anywhere. So this issue of languages, either are we going to launch onto the foreign languages of English and French and Portuguese, or want to develop some people talk about Hausa. When I went to Ghana, talking about Hausa and Swahili as African languages. So somebody, then I'm sure Ghanaians, Ben is already doing, You can't imagine yourself learning Hausa at this age. You prefer to stay with your English language. So those are the issues. So Africa has really got a big problem when it comes to the internet space, but some way, somehow, we have to navigate that space and get an understanding. Then human capacity building, as I said, we don't have the capacity when it comes to trading on the internet. We have a lot of illiterate literates. As I was years back, there are so many of the old Gloria working out there who will have nothing to do with digital spaces, who will not want to risk. But then again, that begets the question of how well the governance is being undertaken to be able to give trust to the citizens, to the users of the space, to be willing enough to be vulnerable to dare and venture into those spaces. That's something that we fellows have to ask ourselves. How well enough is that space being governed? What rules are in place? What protections and what systems are there to ensure that there's discipline, there's safety, there's security as we evolve and indulge in that trade? There are some countries, I don't want to mention for to be sued, but there are some countries that I would dare not, no matter how enticing the offer is, trade on internet, I will not dare do internet trade with them because I'm afraid I have not got the assurance. But the internet space, the cybersecurity space, should be able to give that protection to make people like us willing to be vulnerable. Because the system and the structures are so protected that we can dare go there. So whether we like it or not, as for the internet space, it has It has come to stay. It has come to stay, and there is nothing that we can do about it. Which country has the fastest internet speed? I said that my research found out that when you look at broadband speed, not Wi-Fi speed, when you look at broadband speed, Egypt came tops. I was surprised. But they have invested in that infrastructure, and that's the results we are seeing. Cote d'Ivoire, 59, Mauritius. Ghana didn't do bad at all, so at least I think we should pat ourselves on our shoulders too. We are not too bad. We are not too bad, but we are not there yet. There's still a lot of work to be done. Because South Africa leads when it comes to that industry. So I'm even surprised to see that our speed is better than this. But I think we've invested in some amount of fiber optics laying, and that has put us ahead when it comes to the quality of internet and the speed. With even Rwanda, with all their progress, they have been touted as one of the developed nations, but they are behind us. And who has the largest internet company in Africa? Can you guess? South Africa. Which company? MTN. That is it. MTN has the largest. Listen. Now, when it comes to the country with the best internet quality, using quality of life index. Again, I was surprised to find out Mauritius has the best quality in terms of quality of the internet. Ivory Coast, when Ghana didn't surface here anyway, so don't ask me what's our position. It didn't surface in the first 10. When to our quality, when you are looking at like using the life index, so the people in the country and their use of internet. So that's the space, which are not the speed. Now, I also asked the question: which country is number one in internet technology? I didn't put the answer there so that you read and tell me. So tell me, which country is number one when it comes to what? Did you say Ghana? Hey, that is your wild dream for Republic Day. That would have been a good gift. Yes. Which country? Yes. Somebody said Morocco. I'm not care of Africa, please. This one is international. Oh, not Africa, not Africa. That's why you're going to Morocco. Yes, internationally. China, South Korea. Yes, what else? India. Yes, more guesses. They said that country is a global leader in both technology and economics. It houses most of the world's largest tech companies. It houses them. Are you sure? Don't go to your internet library. Don't go to your internet library. No, it's not here. US. Yes. Yes. So, well, the research says it's the US. Now, which African country is known as a tech hub? Yes. Which country in Africa? South Africa, Rwanda, yes, it's more guess. Who said Kenya? You are not even confident. Somebody said South Africa. Let me see South Africa. Rwanda. Somebody said Rwanda. I want to see. I said on up. And somebody said Kenya. Two said Kenya. Yeah, Kenya is known as a tech hub. Unfortunately, I wish it was Ghana as the one speaking here. So as we said, internet governance has come to stay. And internet governance can only develop through digital innovation. Now we are talking about borderless trade. So it's not like the one that you go to a Falao border and then the soldiers will open your bag and then they will look through and then decide to look at the cloth and take two for themselves and take some of your cornflakes and your Milo and seize it, etc., etc. No. We are talking about trade that is just by the click of a button or a tap on your computer. And most of this is driven by fiber optics, the satellite dish, or digital telescope. Now, we are talking about trade in traditional and non-traditional commodities. We are going to talk about trade. We always talk about gold, iron, mangoes, whatever. But these days, trade is even in services. Even marriage is being traded on the internet now. You can look for a husband on the internet. You can even sell wives on the internet. You can sell husbands on the internet. You can sell house helps on the internet. Isn't it? Yes, you can sell your services on the internet. I can let people in Korea know that I have share butter, I have whatever. So don't talk about internet governance and Africa and trade, talking about traditional and non-traditional. Okay, we also have to look at the use of mobile money platforms, which have now increased and multiplied. And most countries, not only in Ghana, are also developing their own mobile money wallets. So we have to look at how we can harmonize this, especially we're talking about African trade. Because Kenya started this for farmers, and now it has grown. MTN really capitalized on it, and they became the leaders in that vein, and all the telcos are now getting their versions of the mobile money. So the fintech companies have to look at how they can put structures in place to ensure that the space is governed, regulated, and secure. Now you have to look at e-commerce platforms that have come. Jumia. Now if you are hungry, you can just take an app, have a choice of foods and restaurants you can choose from. You can pay a rider or just come and ring your bell and they've given it to you. In the same way, you can sit here and buy the latest phone from South Korea, as you said. You don't have to go to any agent. You sit here, you order, it will be delivered at your door. That's how far we are going. And so we are looking at how digital trade is connecting Ghana and Africa to the world. Now, policy challenges. Because Africa has got varying economic and financial policy regimes, it affects our ability to trade together. Yesterday, I was reading that Ethiopia has, for the first time in 50 years, allowed and agreed foreign banks to operate freely and directly in their system. Formerly, even their computers were all in America. You couldn't go there and just really work on their system, in their space. And it's the same thing came to banking. So imagine if we say we want to trade among ourselves in Africa, and yet StanChart or EcoBank or whichever bank we have here cannot trade freely with Ethiopia that has got some goods we want to sell. Then we have to also look at how local policies of the African countries will affect the international trade. And I want to use a simple one that we all know. In Ghana, we can talk about the e-levy, which was introduced, and how it affected trade, especially the mobile trading space, and how we had to scream and get it removed. So it's not only Ghana, but other African countries, our domestic laws, if you don't take care and we don't pay attention to it, some of the laws that we put in place could affect our success in the international space. Access to internet space remains unequal, not only in Ghana, but in the whole of Africa. I gave you the example of the shea butter trade farmer in Tamale already. And they talk about the African Continental Free Trade Area, which we launched 2021 to today. Where are we? We say we are still implementing. We are crawling. But the digital space is not crawling. It is moving fast. We were front time, they said 2G, 3G, 4G, and China is running. And we are still crawling with implementation of something that we say is for African continent and for our trading, that we want to trade freely with 90% of goods among ourselves in the African continent. And yet, we cannot implement something like that. And when you look at the export-import partners for Ghana, I'm using Ghana as an example because we're talking about Africa. Look at our 5 top export and import partners. There's not one from Africa. There you go. Switzerland, China, Canada, South Africa. I didn't see Nigeria, and I didn't see Zimbabwe. So the trade agreements internationally are serving the international community very well. They are making sure that when they put a law together, They don't overlook any comma or full stop. It serves their interests. They do it very well. What are we doing about those laws and those agreements in our own space? I gave the example of Africa. What are we doing about it? ECOWAS has tried some number of trade-related instruments, including the ECOTIS, that's the ECOWAS Trade Information System. Like I said, we said ECOWAS passports. We did it. We are trying now to remove some of the restrictions to make 90 days permissible in most of the African countries, which is a good step. But it's not good enough. I think we have to move further if you really want to enhance trade, to bring down some of those barriers. Like I said, the economic partnership agreements that we had with the UK and the EU, which have almost fallen apart, especially with the EU one, when we signed the Samoa agreements, which we are not even able to follow through now, because the African countries don't have money to fund themselves to go for the meetings, to even go and discuss these agreements. But yet they will sit there, they will meet, and if you're not there, they will pass, because they are using the quorum, and they will pass the law, and the law will work for you, because it has been passed and you are part of the catchment area of that law. So what are we doing about that? And whether we like it or not, there are a lot of platforms, foreign platforms, that are operating in our space here. So what should Ghana or Africa do in moving trade and ensuring that we have sound internet governance? We have to expand our infrastructure, as I said. It should be our priority and our focus. We have to focus on initiatives like GIFEC, local initiatives that will promote our own business. We have to invest in digital skills for all farmers, artisans, hairdressers, carpenters, everybody. Because we have people who are producing very nice furniture. Bogas, there are other ones, Fenat, and the rest. You sit here, you see, when I turn on my internet, I see flashing. Somebody in China is selling furniture, and very, very cheap. Why should we not be able to also showcase and be able to sell our furniture freely without any hindrance? We have to lead policy design and ensure that there's interoperability of processes as well as interoperability of legal regimes. So the regimes that we have in Ghana should speak to the regime that is in a friend country like Burkina or Togo or a Portuguese-speaking country, whether it's Angola. Our regime should be able to speak to itself when it comes to trade. Our laws should help us to be able to trade among ourselves. There should be no restrictions. I've forgotten somewhere we went to, we're coming, I think it's the same Uganda. We were living, and it was so horrible the way we were being checked, and our baggage was being checked. And this is just Uganda, an African country. It is worse. Even UK will not do that. Of course, they will use scanners. They don't even need to touch your bag before. But this was physical. It was so humiliating and funny and raw. So these regimes, our legal regimes, should be able, and the processes should speak to each other. So we should have one uniform process for Africa. We should have technologically neutral signatures and authentication methods. Today, you can do an agreement and do e-signature. How many of the women in Makola, how many of the farmers there can use e-signature? What are the protections for them? That somebody in, I don't want to call a town around here, in the suburb of Ghana, will not sit down and pack in 1 minute, clone and get a duplicate agreement like that and send. So those are the issues. Why those poor farmers will not even venture into that space. And then we have to talk about smart, fair digital trade policies, especially as we are moving towards. Please help move the slide then, because I've done one before this. So what are the key challenges? So the key challenge, I was going to throw this to you, that how, and this, I've already said this, how does this play out in the world with different norms, different legal systems? We have hackers and systems, and yet we have very low technological expertise. How would this digital trade work for most of the people? Please move it forward. So we are saying that Africa, okay, you've gone to another one, okay. We must embrace multi-stakeholder models of internet governance. We must include the local and private sector in all that we do. It should not be government's business alone. So everybody must get on board in making sure that we move Africa forward when it comes to internet governance and international trade. We must prioritize affordable, reliable internet access for all citizens. And then we must also broaden our strategies to bridge the gap in the digital divide. Now it's only mostly urban-centered. The rural areas must be looked at. We must strengthen technical skills that foster innovation, education, and awareness fora like what we are having now. Until I came here last year, I was very, very ignorant, very, very lost, and very, very helpless. Now I speak and I even see ways in which I can help others in the bigger space, including our legislative space, to become more educated and more useful to promote internet governance and international trade. We have to increase participation in international internet governance institutions. Like I said, engage in the system, as Raymond will be telling you on the last day, to engage in the system. Can we move to the last one? Is it the last one? Or what we should do? I think I've said that already. Expand whatever. I've said all that already. Lastly, my conclusion to you today is that Africa is at the digital trade crossroads in relation to internet governance and international trade. We are at the crossroad because looking ahead, we see the gains and the need to engage in trade on the internet, in the digital space. But that's the in thing now, and that's what everybody is doing. Nobody is carrying, even tomatoes. Yesterday, somebody called me and said, oh, if you need marketing, I'll bring it to you. I mean, everything is now E. Everything is, even babies are being put in incubators, everything. So it's the way to go. So we are at the crossroads. How are we able to manage our space to be able to fit in and benefit, to tap into the 98% of online trade that we are not benefiting from? It's a question to you and I. Now, the global nature of services and applications implies that the internet infrastructure and resources, such as the numbers and domain names, etc., used for deployment, need critical attention. You cannot be let go. And then there's the last point, which I want all of us to take home, is there's the urgent need for us to raise more ambassadors. Very soon, GHANASIG, you might have to consider running 2 streams, not 1. I know you say funding, but if we understand that, as God said, the field is big, but the laborers are few, right? That's the biblical quotation. The field is big, but the laborers are few. We can transpose that to the internet governance space. Madam Sarata. So the field is big, the space is large, but the laborers are few. We have to raise more ambassadors to spread the internet governance knowledge across the continent. Remembering that charity begins where? Charity begins where? So it all starts here with us in Ghana. Talk about Africa, but we have to look within. We have to look at Ghana. What can we do as we live here as fellows? What can we do to also contribute to that internet space, to reduce the number of illiterate literates? And yes, illiterate literates, to reduce the number when it comes to internet governance and comes to the digital space. What can we do? So let's have 52 ambassadors of internet governance on Friday, living here, invigorated, charged, and challenged to go out there to spread the word. On this note, I want to say thank you very, very much for listening to me, and I wish you a fruitful session and more deliberations for the days to come. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We are grateful. Yes, indeed, the ecosystem is big, but we all have a space in there. So please, quickly, if anyone have any question.
You want to ask questions?
Any question or any? Okay.
I thought you set me free.
Hi, ma'am. Thank you very much for the presentation. That was insightful. My name is Desi, and so my question is, how can Africa ensure its digital trade policies are not just reactive to Western and Asian tech powers, but also if they can actively shape global internet governance standards?
Thank you.
Okay, so I think let's take all the three. And
Okay, thank you so much for the enlightening presentation. I just want to add to the fact that it is more real that there are barriers in trade than we can ever think about. I think a month or two ago, I registered for an online conference in Botswana, and I had to pay $100 to be part of the online presentation. It was hybrid because of, number one, travel barriers, so no problem. I got to my bank to transfer the $100 to University of Botswana's account. I was being charged another $100 for the transaction. This is so real. Whilst now we have simple apps that I could pay a token for or on to pay $100. My bank was charging me $100, but it would have been far easier to, I'm sure, to transfer to another bank in the West.
Yeah, in the UK.
Yes. So we must all take this message, and thank you because you are coming from the Parliament of Ghana. This message should, I don't know if you have the authority, our African parliaments, what can we do? We should stop creating silos and then think of the broader perspective. When I travel outside, I still want to enjoy my Gan Kenke, and it should be easy for me to order Kenke online and delivered through any courier service, and it should still be hot. Apples travel to Ghana every day. Every day we are importing fresh apples. Are we able to export hot wache, hot kenke, or hot eba from with agushi stew from Nigeria to Ghana? This is how it should be. Thank you.
thank you so much. The last person. Oh, okay.
That's not, okay, thank you so much. So the first, to the first question, I think in the presentation, I did mention that, one, we must make sure that we are at the table where discussions are held and decisions are made. Even in the corporate space, I've come to realize, having moved up the ladder, I've realized that if you're not at the table, a lot of things happen. Decisions are taken, they will share it. And when they come, you not even see the oil on their lips, so they will clean their lips nice, like I'm see there. So, oh yes. So we have to be at the decision-making tables. We have to be at the international conferences. We have to be everywhere. And we just don't go and sit down and watch, but we go and we make our presence felt. We partake. We read before we go. Most of the times we see experts go to conferences. Sorry to say that. And they just go and doze. So you go, you read before you go about the conference you are going to, so you can contribute, make inputs, and then speak to the issues. So that is one. Then again, I talk about our own local rules and regulations. What she's talking about at the bank, it's not UK that did that to us. It's our own rules. It's our own regulations, our own restrictions. And nobody seems to care or look at that. But that's why I bring back to the governance system and I say, we all should be ambassadors. The more we write articles, as we live here as fellows, the more you engage in the ecosystem, the more you make noise and bring this to the fore. We can take up columns in Graphic, in Times, in academic journals, and start writing, and start bringing these issues to the fore. Bring attention to it. That's the only way that these things get policy attention. For example, you were asking me what I can do in my space. Yes, I'm not a politician. I'm not a member of parliament. I'm a public servant, like any of you. I'm also serving. But in my own space, I've discussed with Egif, I've said that we can transpose this to the legislative space. It will be difficult to get them. Let me say this off record. It will be difficult to get them to come and learn. But we'll try and find some carrots and sticks to make sure that it works. But they have to know, because as you pass the laws, if you don't even know about how the internet space is governed, Sometimes you can say some laws go in, they come back and they say amendments or repeal that due to some of these things. So those who are doing the laws, for example, have to know what happens there. Do you know the implications of the Act 843, for example, the data privacy law? Do you know the implications? It's biting at us and it's eating us, and we're not even implementing it well. Do we know that the laws from the EU, whether we like it or not, they has implication on us, and how are we managing? So, I mean, we all in our own small way, as she said, have to make the noise, bring our contributions to the fore, and bring our voice to be heard. So as you go, don't go to bed, just engage in the system, write, make noise, put articles on your Facebook page, on your status, write to the newspapers, etc., etc. And then together, we'll raise the flag of internet governance and let everybody know that it is a space. That's the only way you can get government to look at it and pay attention and do something about it. It's a duty for all of us. On that note, I love you all. There's a hand, yes, the last one. The third one is not here. Or I've provoked something again in you.
I think
Yes.
it's a thought that came
Okay.
across my mind as my sister was making a point about content moderation.
Yeah.
For example, these African countries, with experiencing coup d'etats and other stuff.
Yeah.
So if the government decides to put their personal interest above the needs of the people, what can we as advocates and ambassadors do to combat that?
So, 27 December 2024, did you go to the polls? Did you vote? You didn't vote. I should charge you civic irresponsibility. And that is also one of the reasons why the wrong people will come, depending on where you stand. Are you getting me? So we all have, there are many ways, but that's just one I've given you. That's why every 4 years we go to the polls. So Enkoye, you have a chance to speak and say Enkoye, and let it show in the votes by a very vast swift from 130-something to 20. That will send me a message that I'm not doing well. So when Ben now comes, he will sit there because Gloria was there and she was not doing well, and they sued her. So those are some of the examples. Like I said, we all have a voice, we all have a vote, we all have space, and we must make that noise until the noise is heard. Egikfa is doing his bit. It's a young group on its own without any call seat from anywhere, but they are struggling and trying to pull from here and there to give you and I this space and make some of we, the illiterate literates, more literates. So if we also join the train, and they have a campaign going on, I don't know whether they've mentioned to you already, to raise funds to to do this youth education for the internet governance youth education. So we can, even if you send 100 cedis to them, $100 to them, it would also push their voice and send the mission somewhere. So we all have a way we can do it. And then let us also be proud. That's why I started by telling us that we are first Ghanaians, and then we are Africans. If we have that consciousness, and we are proud of who we are, and that is one of the forum I attended in Uganda, is one of family values, and they'll be hosting it in Ghana next year. It's a move to get us all come back to our consciousness of our African roots and our African identity. Because we are becoming so westernized and whitewashed and brainwashed. Nobody's doing it. We are doing it to ourselves. You should not blame anybody. And therefore, not even promoting ourselves. Like she said, why won't I be proud to sell wache? Why should I not be proud to promote my alata samla or my gang keke? Like me, since that time, since in March, I've said I'm not going to use any Brazilian wig on my hair. This, you see, is my natural hair, 100%. And that's what the Ghanaians are doing. So we have to start from somewhere. Be proud of what we are, canvass it, promote it, and move it. So the internet space is ours, and we only can make the noise so our government to give them attention. And like I said, it's not only government responsibility. We also have a responsibility and a stake in it. On that note, my final thank you to all of you, and I love you all. Now, I don't even know how I can give my gift out. So maybe I'll give those who ask the questions.
Exactly.
I think 4 people asked questions. This madam,
Yes.
the lady,
The other lady and the
then
gentleman.
you were 3, right?
Yes.
Yes. Who answered? Everybody answered the question. So identify those who asked the first, answered the question. Yes. Identify them. No, he is saying, I want him to identify it. Yes, identify them. The moment, so you cannot. So on that note, I'll give those who asked the 3 questions, and it will be fair to them.
Very fair.
Yes. Thank you. I love you all.
Thank you so much. Oh, we can do it better. We can do it better. Let's clap for her. Okay. Thank you, madam, for sharing that insight with us. Okay, so I think we need to move on to our next session. But before that, okay. So, okay, I think the chocolate is still being shared. So you see, so this calls for active participation. When there's a session going on, you don't know the surprise the facilitator has for you. So, so our next session for today, we are going to understand the operations of the, hello, don't worry, more chocolate will come. So we are going to understand the operations of CCTLD, CCTLD registrations. Who can tell me what the full meaning of CCTLD is? Oh, because I don't have chocolates. Okay, no issue. Okay, so our facilitator for this training is going to be Benedict Sego, a system administrator with GDNR, Ghana Domain Name Registry. Benedict, please, if you can hear me, can you unmute and speak? I think he's going to join us online. Benedict, please, can you hear me? Okay. Yes, I think it's audible now, but maybe you could increase your voice a bit.
Yeah, I believe it's now better.
Yes, I think it's okay now. You can go ahead, please.
Okay, now. Okay, thank you very much. Please, can you give me access to share my screen? Yes, thank you. I have it now. Okay, thank you once again. And I believe the chocolate, they will reserve mine for me. It's unfortunate I can't join in person because I have to travel.
Don't worry.
That chocolate should be reserved for me.
Very important.
So, my name is Benedict Sego, like the moderator said, and I'm going to take you through understanding the CCTLD registry operations, what they do, and then how they work. So I'm doing this on behalf of Ghana Domain Name Registry. So it will be a straightforward discussion or presentation after we take the questions. So the definition of what CCTLD is, like you can see on the screen, CCTLD basically means a country code top level domain. And it's the internet ending for a specific country or a territory. So if you say top level domain name for a country, we are basically talking about the names that represent a country. And on the screen you can see .uk, which represents United Kingdom. We have the .jp for Japan. We have .br for Brazil. We have .bj for Benin. We have .ng for Nigeria, and then our own Ghana, we have the .gh. So most of the time when you see a name, maybe kwame.com.gh, ghana.gov.gh, and then the passport.gov.gh. Those are the common names that we mostly see here. So we will go and then ask what a CCTD registry is or what they do. So like any other registry service, the CCTDs are responsible for managing the domain name space, that's the country level domain name space. So they are the organization that manages all domain names under a specific CCTD. So when we talk about .uk, we have a company called Nomnet that manages the .uk. Then we have Kenik. Kenik manages the .ke for Kenya. And then Ghana, we are undergoing a transition, and GDNR is mandated to manage the .ga domain name space after the process is completed. And why do they do that? We allocate country code domain name for countries to serve as a point of a source of truth or a central source for the domain name extension. When you want the domain name code, because we want to have a central place that you can get a domain name. When you have an issue, dispute issue, there's a place you can go to. When there's a domain that you think the name is similar to your trademark and you want to redress, a place that you can go. And then because with the country code, we want it to be trusted. What we do is you can go to .com and then register just any name and then nobody knows who you are. But when you register with the country code, there are some basic information that ensure that the person or the organization exists, not just in the virtual space, but also in the physical space as well. And because of that, they provide what we call the data integrity. Their main job is to keep the database of domains as accurate as possible and also make them available when it is requested for. So like I said earlier, when you want to know information about ug.edu.gh, it is easy for us to get it for you that this domain is registered by University of Ghana at this period, and then main administrator is this person. So if there's any challenge and that needs to be addressed, you can easily walk to them or you can go to them. Unlike the .com that sometimes you ask for the information is available, but the information doesn't point to a person that you can say, oh, this is the person who's running behind the .com domain name. And then we come to the key players of the CCTD space. First, we have the registry, like I initially explained. The registries are the people who basically manage the database and then the DNS infrastructure and then services. So here we have the example like the UK, the .gh, and then the .ng. And we have what we call the registrar. In ordinary e-commerce or ordinary commerce or business sense, we say that the registrars are the middlemen, if you like the connection things. Else, you will say that they are the wholesalers of the domain names. So we have some people like the GoDaddy, that people go there to buy a domain. Basically, they are not the registry. They are registrars. They just sell the domain on behalf of VeriSign. So they just sell the domain and then make money out of it. In Ghana here, a typical example is the NITA. NITA is responsible for the registration of .gov.gh. So anything you see .gov.gh, or if you work for a government institution and you want a domain to be registered for you, the place you have to go to NITA and then ask for the domain, and they will register the .gov.gh for you. With the .com.gh, you go to Ghana.com to get that registered. So in Ghana, we have the Ghana.com as the only registrar accredited by ICANN to sell or to sell domain names and also sell the .gh as well. And then we have the users. The users are basically you and I, the ordinary person who use the website or email services. We are just the users. And then we have the registrant. The registrant is the person who made the request, or the person who bought the domain, or the person who registered for the domain name, or the CCTLD domain extension. So the registrant is the person who owns it. And the users are the ordinary people who go to the internet and then use it. That's how we are presenting it with Globe. Because anybody anywhere in the world can access these services, no matter your location. And then when it comes to the core registry functions or the domain name registry functions, like in the earlier discussion, I mentioned that they manage the database of the registry. And this database is not just the person's information, but also the who is record to know where the name servers even sit. And then the IP informations are all part of the database that are managed by the registry. They also manage the DNS operations. That is the DNS servers or the DNS systems or the services that we mostly refer to. And this registry, what they do is they operate the domain name service for the CCID. So they turn the domain names, like what we see, kwame.gh, or when you go to nita.gov.gh or parliament.gh, it's just not the name. But at the registry level, these names point to an IP address or a set of numbers that are understood by the machines or the computers. So they manage the translation of this or resolving of those domain names to an IP addresses that the computers can easily understand, or computers also use to share resources. So that's what they do. And then the registry also is responsible for registration management. So they set up the rules for domain registration. Like typically in Ghana, before you can register at .com.gh, you must have a physical presence in Ghana. So if you're a company, your admin contact should be someone who resides in the country. So we call it the local presence, all in the name of making sure that our ecosystem develops, and then we also make sure that the trust that we want to build is sustained and then maintained. And then we also provide the registrar the platform for them to be able to add, update, or delete domain names as and when it is needed. And then they also offer the registrant, which is the person who's buying the domain, the ability to update his or her records through the registrar. Then the registry again is also responsible for setting up policies and compliance. And these policies are not just set by the registry sitting in isolation and then doing it, but they do it with the local governance or local government rules, also in compliance with ICANN, and then sometimes even the ITU requirements or guidance, and then also the local internet community participation. Typically in Ghana, when we are drafting the domain name policies, we have what we call the community engagement, where most of the stakeholders are also brought on board to look at the policies that are available and then also make an input before those policies become something that we use. So, and this are what the registry also ensure that all these players in the ecosystem participate to ensure that the registry represents the country needs and aspirations. The registry operations and then the funding. Who runs the CCTLD registries is a question most of the time we get. And this one varies by countries. Every country and in the way the registry is run. In some countries, the government agencies run the registry and they are responsible for the regulations and management of this. In other countries, the government is only responsible for the regulations. And then they have another set of people also who are also there, who basically manage the database. Then some countries also is the universities that run the registry. Some also run it as a non-profit organization. So they give it to the community. I know a typical example in Lebanon is the Internet Society of Lebanon that runs the registry. In other countries, also similar things happen. In Kenya, in Nigeria, is a community of registrars that runs the registry with the government. The government also has an oversight responsibility. In Ghana, what we are also trying to do, or what we are doing, is there's an agency responsible for the regulation and the management. But that agency is not solely government. We say solely government in the sense that government does not set the policies. It is the community and then the local internet stakeholders who come together and then set those policies. And even in the governing board of the registry are derived from the various internet players, the internet service providers, the exchange points, the academia, the civil societies all come together to form what we call the board that manages the operations of the registry. And then we have private companies, like when we go to UK, we have Nominet that runs the registry on behalf of the government. And some countries do that because they don't want the government to be directly be responsible for it. And these companies pay a percentage of the domain registration fees to the government, as government has given them that responsibility to run. And we have the community-based organizations. This is where the community come together and say that, typical example, let's say in Ghana, the ISPs, the data centers, the exchange points, the telcos come together that government maybe is not ready to run the registry. So we are coming together to run the registry on behalf of the people. So they get the people full commitment to run it. That's one part that the registry should run. And how does the registry get its funding, or how does the registry operate? What basically the registries, and this one also differ from registry to registry. And one key funding source is the fee that they charge for registrars for each domain that they register. And not just the fee, some registries also even go extent of running an auction. We have some domain names that have premium. So those domain names mostly go with because people want it. Sometimes they are auction. And when they auction, it also attracts a bigger fee. And they get those money as a CD, sometimes as a CD fund to start their operations or to set up the registry. And then also the registrars then charge registrants for the domains. Like I said, the registrars are basically the wholesalers. So they take the domain from the registry and then sell to registrants. And sometimes they add some money to it so that they can also be operational. Some registries also just operate with the donor support from other agencies or from other multinational companies. And this is now not common because most registries, the government or countries have seen its benefit. So they don't mostly allow donor agencies to come and say that, oh, we will pay for this, and then the domain will run without charging any money or having any financial benefit. And then you have the government funding. The government funding mainly comes in when the registries are at their infancy stage. When the registry starts, mostly the money they generate from the registration are not enough to run. So sometimes government steps in to provide them some funding support. Sometimes because of the government policy on digitalization or transforming their local internet space, or because they want to have a sovereignty where there is equal participation, government sometimes subsidize the domain registration fees by also funding the registry so that they can sell it at the barest minimum, or they can compete with the main registrars or like those who sell the .com. Because .com, for example, sells about $10, and the registrars or the CCTV registrars sometimes find it difficult to sell a domain for $10 when in most cases maybe they are running their total domain registration they have is below 5,000, and when they sell at $10, basically it's very difficult for them to sustain their business. So government comes in to support them in that regard. And then we talk about the technical operations and securities that the registries also provide. We say that when it comes to the technical requirements, The registry is a service that has to run 24/7. It doesn't need to go down. And for that matter, it has to be highly reliable. Because the registry is not reliable, goes off anytime. Just imagine you are searching for google.com, and then google.com, you cannot get it. Not that you don't have internet, you have internet. But the DNS server that is supposed to resolve the name to an IP address is not working. And for that matter, you can't access Google. That is what we talk about when we talk about the reliability. At any point in time, when we search for parliament.gh, that service shouldn't go down because the registry servers are down. That service has to be available. Anytime you search for passport.gov.gh, that service has to be there. Anytime you search for jumia.com.gh, that service, the DNS service has to be available. Then they also provide a network infrastructure management. Then we talk about the security challenges of running a registry. The registry basically faces what we call has to protect us from the hackers. Because like any other service that we run, sometimes this domain names, IP address can be changed to redirect a user to a different service. And when that happens, it also erodes the trust that the government wants to build in the local digital space. So it's the responsibility of the registry to ensure that these systems are protected from hackers or the impact is minimized. They also prevent the domain hijacking or fraud. When we talk about domain hijacking and fraud, what basically we are talking about is some people intentionally register a domain that looks similar to existing company or a trusted company. And when that happens, it also creates chaos in the ecosystem. Some people also know very well that this company is doing well, but they don't have a website, so they don't have a domain. They intentionally go and buy the domain, watch for the hijacking. They buy it and then sit on it. That they need this amount of money before they release it to the intended owner or the original owner. So the CCT of this also comes in because it's at the country level. They have that level of control to say that, okay, this company, when it goes to research general, they have a record. So this domain name belongs to them. And they can easily take those domain names for them. Or they can go into a negotiation where each party comes to an agreement and then the person gets the domain. Not at an exorbitant fee, but at a reasonable fee that the service has to run. The registries are also responsible for implementing the security protocols. Now, gone are the days that DNS services were not something that the hackers were targeting. So the DNS has been running for more than 30 years without the implementation of the security feature. But it got to a point, the DNS poisoning and all those things started coming in. Man-in-the-middle attacks and all those things. People changing DNS records so that they can access people's information. So now what has happened is there's also another layer of security on the DNS service, what's called the DNSSEC. And it is the responsibility of the registry to implement this DNSSEC. And this DNSSEC are being implemented all over the world. Ghana is also in the process of implementing DNSSEC. At the moment, we don't have the DNSSEC implemented, but the process has already started. The community engagement is ongoing, and very soon we have that DNSSEC extension also implemented. And this does not go without challenges. So the ongoing challenges we have, or the registries also face, are the constant cyber attack threats, adapting to policy changes and new laws. Policy changes and new laws because now, one of the days, we didn't even have the GDPR, we didn't have the Data Protection Act. All these things are coming in. And sometimes this comes in to say that even though you have the WHOIS record, this set of information shouldn't be available to the public. And then also, the public also comes in to say that, no, we have a policy which says that if I want this information, it should be available to me. So how do we navigate between these two conflicting needs where the information should be available and the agency or under regulator saying that this information shouldn't be available because of one or two reasons? So these are challenges that registries mostly face. And then also keeping system modern and secure. Some countries are even when the Web3 was introduced, Web3 has made it possible for even an individual to have their own DNS services. And because of these blockchain services, registries are also being forced to at least adopt the blockchain technology and then also the new security measures, which also it's also a key challenge to registries, which may not even have the current infrastructure to run. So it becomes a key challenge. And then one major issue is the domain ownership dispute. When the domain name services started, or when the internet became thing that people wanted to use, or it became a common platform for people to use, first, the issue of dispute was not a key challenge. So people, when you take the .com, for example, sometimes you search for a name, they'll tell you that the name is not available. But when you go to your browser and then you type the same name, they will tell you that that domain is owned by somebody and you need to pay like $5,000. Sometimes the domain can go as high as $100,000 for somebody to buy. We know Elon Musk bought the X from PayPal for over $40 million because PayPal were having that X.com and they need to buy it. And we have companies who up to now don't think of the essence of having a domain name. So their names, even in Ghana, their names are being used by another third party for online activity, and they become very good, or they make name for themselves. And sometimes these companies who have already registered comes in that, no, this domain name belongs to me, so I must have it or I need it. And this creates a lot of dispute and how to navigate it and then get those names even available to people. A typical example is when you take Google, for example. Google at any country that they operate have a local domain name there. So when it comes to Ghana, sometimes if you want to type google.com, it changes to google.com.gh because Google have seen the essence of having a local presence and they bought that domain name. And they didn't just buy it because it's fun to buy it. Because let's say each country is selling a domain for $70. And we have over 100 countries in the world. So each country, when they buy those names, what are the implications? They buy sometimes to also protect their brand. So in Ghana, for example, Google may not just buy google.com, but they may buy Google Read, maybe GOUGLE.com.gh. They may buy Google GUUGLE.com.gh. They may buy different combinations, all in the name of protecting their trademark and their brands. And people also come in that, oh, I've also registered Google, but my Google is GUULLE.com.gh. And these things bring a lot of conflict or dispute that these domain name registries have to adopt. And sometimes it takes a toll of them. So these are some of the ongoing challenges that domain name registries face. And again, some people, for example, will ask, I can get a .com for $10. Why should I buy .com.gh for $45 or for $20? Or why should I buy .ng? Because I know this internet governance school, the fellows are not only Ghanaians, you have people from US and other countries. So, and this question keep coming, that why should I buy .ng because I'm a Nigerian, or what is the economic value to me as a business owner when I can get a .com for $1 or $10, or sometimes even when you do a hosting for the first 1 or 2 years, they give it to you for free. Some of the key benefits or why the city of this matter is one, they provide local identity. Many a times we provide services that we are looking at our local people participating or local people buying. A typical example, if you sell food online or you sell cars online and you are a Ghanaian company, you want people to know that when they go to maybe mercedes.com.gh, it means they are buying the Mercedes car, which is manufactured in America or which is manufactured in Germany, in Ghana, and the company which is selling it is in Ghana here. So this Mercedes, we are giving it a local identity. The same way we have some brands or you have some product that is, the moment you mention it, people know that this is Ghana or this country. Typical example is Kente. Anywhere in the world, when you mention Kente or you mention Cocoa, it goes with Ghana. So if a e-commerce business and we are selling kente, why would you go and buy a .com? That can be for any other country. It can be a company that is not even in Ghana, but they may be selling it. But when someone or like these people, the fellows on this call, because you now understand what it does. If we are not in Ghana, we are buying kente from Ghana, and then you see a domain name that ends with .gh, it gives you that trust that you are buying from Ghana, and because of that, you are buying a Ghanaian-made kente. So that's why I say that the .gh or the country code or the city gives you the local identity. Again, it also brings community support. Now, like Raymond will tell you, when it comes to the universal acceptance, we are saying that the internet shouldn't be only in the English characters or the Latin characters or the ASCII characters we use. Most countries, China, for example, Taiwan, and all those countries are using their local languages for even their domain names. So you can see a Chinese website, which is only in the Mandarin or the Mandarin language. Sorry if I'm not getting the name right. But so the domain names are also coming in to support the local languages. People for Ghana, we are fortunate we use the English and then even our local languages, most of the characters are in the Latin characters, so it's easy for us. But when we go to other countries like Ethiopia, that their language is totally different. The person is educated, but in that language, it doesn't need to speak English. How then does the person also participate in the internet space in the language that he understands? So that's why we say that the local language and then the communities are one of the key reasons why we have the CCTLDs. And then the trust factor, the same way, trust factor, I'll give you a scenario. A Ghanaian company is very unlikely to give you a US telephone number that if you need to reach me, call me on this number. When you know that it's operating in Ghana, it's going to give you a Ghana number which starts with +233 because it's a Ghanaian company and then he wants you to identify him as a Ghanaian company. The same way with the domain names, .gh gives you some level of trust that this company exists in Ghana. This company have gone through the local regulation requirements. And if there's any issue, you can go to them. So it gives you that trust factor and then that confidence that if you transact business with them, then you are dealing with the right person or you are dealing with the right entity. And also the internet governance space. The CCTLDs or the registry does not just exist because they want to make money or want to support the national agenda, but they also help to have manage the internet within a country. Now we are talking about digital sovereignty. When Madam Gloria was talking, we were talking about having a digital sovereignty. And you can't have a digital sovereignty without having a CCTLD. Imagine Ghana, we have our data centers, people are running apps, people are running services that we need to support. And those services are run on .com, which means that if I'm searching for, typical example, if I'm searching for GG, and then I go to gg.com, and then for the domain name to be resolved, I have to be routed to US or any other country for it to be resolved before it comes back into Ghana, before you can access the service was set in Ghana. But with the .com.gh, those services are resolved in Ghana. Those services are also retained in Ghana. And then even to the extent that countries that have been able to achieve 70% digital sovereignty or digital autonomy are able to run the services even when the global internet is down or when they cannot access external internet. Typical example, China run most of their services. We know they are WeChat, we know they are a QChat and all the other services that they run. They've been able to replicate all the global services in their country to the extent that sometimes most of them don't need to even know about Google or don't need to know about other countries' services that are running. They consume those services to the extent that they don't have to use the internet, quote and unquote, because all these services are running in their country. So they don't need the undersea cable to connect to a service in US to transfer service. And what are those benefits? What the other benefit that it gives? What those services are hosted locally, the local service providers doesn't need to pay a third-party country who run the undersea cable from Ghana to US to say that for any megabit data that is transmitted over my network or over my cable undersea, you need to pay this amount, which also contributes to internet costs. So most of the time when we talk about the internet cost being high, when we go to the telcos at the policy level, they will tell you that you are accessing TikTok. TikTok is not hosted in Ghana. You are accessing YouTube. It's not hosted in Ghana. So these telcos also have to pay in dollars to these undersea cable providers for this TikTok that you are accessing to traverse Ghana and go to US, go to Germany, go to China to fetch those services for you to view at your convenience in Ghana. And all these things come at a fee. And then that fee has to be passed on to someone. And who would that fee pass on to? You, the final consumer. So at the end of the day, you say that your internet service is expensive. But anytime you talk about internet service being expensive, then you ask yourself, which services are you consuming? And if the service you are consuming is not a Ghanaian-based service or it's not a country-based services, then you have to understand that the cost basically has to go up for you to access these services. So the registries also work in terms of the internet governance to ensure that some of the policies that will ensure that reactive digital services are in place, so that government can also come in and then the policymakers can also be brought on to facilitate these services. So in summary, I would say that CCTLDs registries manage country-specific domains like the .gh, .uk, and then the .de for Germany. Their core jobs is to keep the domain database, run the DNS services, manage registration, and follow policies that have been set by the community or that have been set by the internet stakeholders. They also work with registrars to sell domains to the public. Their operations also require strong technology or technological knowledge, security, and then reliability. So on that, I would say that thank you very much for being good audience, because I'm not physically available with you, but I believe you are listening to me and you are enjoying this presentation. And maybe in the next presentation that I will do, I'll be available for us to engage more. But notwithstanding, I will say thank you again to the organizers of this event, which has become part of our core programs that we are always ready to support. Team Egefa has done a very wonderful job. So I would say thank you once again. And then I'll be on standby for any questions that any one of you would like to ask. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, so thank you so much for that insights. Please, do we have any questions for? Okay. No, I saw your hand first. Oh, you want chocolate? Benedict, please, do you have some chocolates for us?
Yes. I have a extra one. So
okay, no issue.
Please provide me the account and then I'll give you today.
So provide it and then you provide. No problem. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Benedict. I have two questions. So are you saying that with the GDNR, if you do not have a brick and mortar, you cannot operate a .gh domain? That's the first question. The second one is...
please. It seems like when we're using the microphone, I find it difficult to hear. So maybe after that, maybe if the moderator can rehash the questions. Thank you.
Okay. You still can't hear me?
I think it's better now.
Okay, all right. Hello? So my first question was, when GDNR is registering a registrant, does it mean that if it does not have a brick and mortar operation or such an address which says this is his business location, he is unable to get a .gh domain? That's the first question. The second one is, you mentioned that Ghana is transitioning into a stakeholder approach or a community-led approach towards managing the CCTLD, which is .gh. My question is, I heard you mention governments, I heard you mention academia and all of that, but I didn't hear regular internet users. How do regular internet users also give a voice to what must be done regarding the CCTLDs and its policies that is being set? Is there already an avenue, or is it now being thought of?
Okay, Bernadette, I hope you got that.
Yes. So
Okay.
let me address the first question.
All right, so
Yes, with the first question, you see, the basic point we need to understand here is we are saying that the CCTLDs are country code or country specific. So if it's country specific, one of the key things we have to do is to ensure that the people who are registering have some sort of, or they are Ghanaians, and then the intent is genuine. Because we have seen a lot of domain names which were driven by profit, the CCTLD, which were driven by profit, that now when you go to the internet, it has become, they flag them as a spam domains. Typical example I will give is, there's this island called Tevelovu. I always get their name wrong, but their extension is .tv. Their registry is basically an open registry. Anybody can register. So if in Ghana here you want to get .tv, you can just go ahead and get .tv. But when you use their services to send email or even some of the browsers, when the moment you type the name, they will tell you that this domain name is not safe. So they will ask you whether you are ready to you are willing to go ahead. And because we have a country that we need to protect its reputation, Ghana already has a reputation of all Ghanaians are trusted for being trustworthy and then also being transparent. And the same way we want to move that from the physical space to the digital space. Ghana should be seen as Ghana as it is. It shouldn't be seen as any entity that when you go to the digital space, you can't be trusted. So for you to register, you need some sort of proof that you are either a Ghanaian or your business operates in Ghana and you have a physical address. You have Ghanaians who live outside. They still can register the domain name. The only thing is, they are saying that provide some context to show that your business or you as a person have a link to Ghana. And that is all. And then when it comes to the policy discussion, yes, we get the local community or the individuals involved. And these individual communities, mostly when we do typically like in the internet society, when there's a community engagement or a policy and then we put it to the internet society, what we expect internet society to do is to extend that call to their community. So imagine internet or policy on their platform that these are the policies they receive from Ghana domain name or concerning domain registration. So their communities will make an input. EGIFA does the same. IIPGH is doing it. The telcos are doing it. And then it doesn't just end there. When it comes to internet governance forums and then the DNS forums, we also go ahead and have these policy discussions there. All that you are trying to do is, even though you may not belong to these bodies, it also gives you the platform at that level, at the IGF level or at the DNS forum level, to also make a contribution. So it's not just limited to the community, but for you to be very active and then also serving some of the communities, let's say at the board level or at the LIC level, then it's also important for you to also get involved in the internet community so that you can come through this channel. But it's not limited to only organizations or civil society groups. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think because of time, we'll take the last one from a lady. A lady. Okay.
Okay. So because we discussed Ghana domain name registry, so I was wondering how Ghana's law deals with cyber squatting, and as to whether NITA plays a role in handling cyber squatting and the processes involved as well. No, that's all.
Benedict, are you able to hear us, please?
No, I didn't hear anything. Please, can you?
Try again, let me see. Take it closer, please. Take it closer.
Okay, so because we discussed Ghana domain name registry, and so I was wondering if how Ghana's law applies to cyber squatting and how it is dealt with, and also as to how or whether NITA plays a role in handling cyber squatting.
Yes, I think so far, first we have to give credit to Professor Kwenu, who for the past 30 years has been the manager of the .gh namespace. Cyber squatting has been something, but up to now, we've not had any issue of cyber squatting in the sense that, one, when you register a domain, you are given a window of 3 to 6 months to put a content up there. If not, that domain is taken unless maybe it's proven that it belongs to an entity that has a domain and then they are trying to protect their brand. And then also, one of the policies that we use to address cyber squatting, when you register a domain, a business domain, you must bring a proof of ownership. So let's say tomorrow we have Abiola Technologies, and then someone wants to register Abiola Technologies as a domain name. We tell the person that, one, bring the business registration, and not just only business registration form to prove yourself. You should also bring an official letter from the organization. The reason why we do this is we have seen many companies where they buy a domain and then the CEO has no idea why that domain exists or has no idea whose details are there. So we say that bring a formal letter from the CEO or the head of the entity to prove that this domain is being taken by the company that claim to be. And we don't only end it there. We do also random checking, random checking are always done, where we sometimes we verify the details are provided us with the Registrar General Department, and then we also do a follow-up course to the CEO's contact that you are provided to ensure that the contact and the details that are there is truly the person that claims to be. So those are the kind of the measures that we use to address cyber squatting. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think let's take the last one as usual. Please go ahead.
Okay, so in your presentation,
Check your microphone. Okay.
in your presentation, you made mention of the uptime of those using the .gh to be very crucial. So I want to find out, under the .gh CCTLD, are there measures in place that ensures that critical government agencies do not have a downtime of their website?
Hello, Benedict. I hope you got that. Benedict, can you hear us, please? Hello? Benedict, can you hear us? Okay, I think his network is not stable. Okay, so I think so I think we have to, because of time, we have to quickly move to the next agenda for today. So I think Benedict, if you can still hear us, thank you so much for making up time to share that insight with us. Please let's clap for him. He has really done a good job. Okay, so please, at this juncture, we are going to have okay. Yeah, I can hear you now, but not loud. Okay.
Is it better now?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, okay. So please, the person again, the last person.
Okay, so since he's back, let's quickly take that in. We don't want to leave. Can you go ahead
Okay,
again?
so in your presentation, you made mention that the uptime of those using the .gh, it's very crucial. So I want to find out if under the .gh CCTLD, there are measures in place to ensure that especially government agencies that are using the .gh have their websites always up and running.
Yes, yes, there are measures that have been that are in place. The first one from the registry point is we don't just run one server or one DNS service. We have what we call the secondary servers, and then we also have what we call the hidden servers. The hidden servers are even servers that are not in the country. And then we also have copies of the servers that also sit with other agents or other companies outside Ghana. So these are also to ensure that this service does not go down. If our main server, our primary DNS server goes down, these services can take over and then run. So we are able to restore the main one. And then when we talk about the government services, I want to add more context to it. The government services, to also ensure that their services don't go down, government has also brought a policy that all government services should be hosted locally. So NITA has that mandate, and then we have a national data center that hosts almost all the government services. So if you observe, when last year we had the internet issue, when the undersea cable went down and then we couldn't access our TikTok and Facebook and all those things. Those of you who were using the government services like the Ghana.gov.gh and then the NITA service and even our platform, they were available because these are services that are hosted in Ghana. So regardless of what happens to undersea cable or the main connection that are coming to the country, we are still able to run, and then we still are able to run our services. So government services, in terms of mechanism, we have everything in place. Government have put in mechanism to ensure that services don't go down. Government service will only go down when maybe that particular government entity has issue like the SSL issue, has issue like maybe maintenance and all those things. And even when that's happening, the registry is not only about the domain. We also do what we call advisory. So sometimes we step in to advise them on what is happening and the measures that can be taken to address these issues. And sometimes we even do it to the extent of providing them the support of migrating their services to these platforms where their hosting has issues. So we make sure that the government services does not go down. In the same way, we also anticipate that no commercial services or individual services or private companies services will go down. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Benedict, for that response. We really appreciate your time as well. Thank you so much, and we hope to see you again. And please don't forget to share a slide with us because our participants need it as well. Thank you so much. So please, on this note, I think we need to, pardon us, we have to do the next section before we go for lunch because our facilitator is already online. So our next section coming up is a blockchain application in a digital development, facilitated by Edison Jr., CEO of Original My. Edison, please, if you can hear us, please unmute and speak. Over to you.
Hey, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Well, if the audio is good, then we can start. So thank you very much for one more year presenting about blockchain for you. Thank you for the invitation, and it's a pleasure to be here to teach, to share what my knowledge about blockchain cryptocurrencies with you. And every year, a lot of new things happen, and then I can update my presentation and bring it very updated to you. So, well, I am Edison. I am CEO of Original My. I launched the first blockchain enterprise project in Brazil in 2015. And I am in the ecosystem, Bitcoin ecosystem, since 2011. 2011. And I started from mining, learning how the protocol works. Then after that, I started to look to the market to find some problems to be solved with the Bitcoin infrastructure. At that time, Ethereum was not ready. It was inexistent. Then after a few years, we were looking into the infrastructure and trying to find new applications where we could use the blockchain infrastructure to do other things beyond the money, beyond the use just for cryptocurrencies. Then we built Original My. We launched it for authenticating documents, authenticating information, digital identities, signing documents, and e-governance in general. So let me go through this presentation. We have some practical exercises in the end. Hopefully they will work because my server went down a few minutes ago and I was trying very hard to bring it back, but let's see what happens until the end of our presentation. I will share my screen with you and then let's see if you can see my slides. Just a second. Here, I am sharing the screen. I believe it's on the screen right now.
Yes, please, we can see.
Okay, good. So first thing I want you all to do right now is, if possible, download a Bitcoin wallet on your devices, on your smartphones. Now, one I can recommend is Blink. They are being produced in El Salvador, and it's open source and a very reliable Bitcoin wallet, even for merchants. So people who is working in the market want to sell products and receive the payments in Bitcoin, they can use the Blink wallet for doing that. It's a very easy to use wallet. You just need to put your email. It's a self-custodial wallet also. And this wallet, it has the Bitcoin on-chain in the first layer and the Lightning Network address. So you can receive and send Bitcoin very fast using Lightning Network. We will talk about Lightning Network in a few minutes. So everyone, download it because you will need this wallet working in the end of our presentation. Hopefully, if my servers come back, then we can do the exercise. The second thing I want you to have until the end of our presentation today is Ethereum wallet. So Bitcoin and Ethereum, they are the two biggest blockchains we have today, the biggest ones. So Bitcoin is the bigger, Ethereum in second place, then we have others after Ethereum. And MetaMask is the most recognized wallet on Ethereum. And it's used a lot for like NFTs, meme coins, tokens, and connecting to a decentralized exchange and doing swaps and everything. It's a very reliable and the older wallet on Ethereum. So if you don't have an Ethereum wallet on your smartphone right now, on your device, please, you can use MetaMask. It's very recommended and one of the best wallets in the market. There are others also, but MetaMask is the older and most reliable from the entire ecosystem. Those are my two recommendations, okay? And let's go to the next slide. Let's talk about the agenda of our presentation today. We'll talk about blockchain. We'll talk how blockchain works as a protocol, and we'll talk about use cases, how people are using blockchain, developing applications that use blockchains, and then we'll try to do some examples. As I said before, if my server come back, let's see if it happens. So let's start talking about what is a blockchain, how a blockchain works. So we have a small story of how that thing works. So from cash to Bitcoin, how did it evolve? So in the very beginning, we had money, the traditional money. And money for us all, it means an exchange right. So if you have a product and you buy something with money, the other side has to accept that money. And in the very ancient times, people were using animals, people were using gems, gold, salt. And after that, as we know today, paper coins. We have our currency, it's on paper. Most of the countries, we have paper currency. And some countries, they are studying about digital currencies. And we'll talk about that in the end of our presentation today also. One of the attributes of money to work as money, it should be scarce and very hard to fraud. If the money can be replicated very easily and can be frauded very easily, it loses the value. And another thing, the money should be exportable. In the old times, it was harder, like exchanging animals, like cows. But today, having money in cash money, in paper or coins, it's very portable. And the digital currency is an evolution of the paper money. And one characteristic of the money is we have a central emission, very controlled by governments, and usually we need to rely on an intermediary to build trust. And by intermediary, you can understand as banks. We need banks to work with our money all the time. And having a bank in the middle of the system, it means we need to get a permission from someone to use our money on our behalf. And it's hard to trust at certain degree that they are doing the correct things with our money. Sometimes we hear about a lot of fraud happening in the bank system, in the financial system. That's because they can create money by themselves. So inside the system, the money is already digital, but they can create numbers so easily. Then we have a lot of problems with the valuation of the money, the currency, because of they are sometimes the government is printing and the banks, they are creating money just by increasing numbers in certain accounts. Then, because of the crash we had in 2009, a pseudonymous guy, Satoshi Nakamoto, he wrote a white paper. And the white paper came on 2008 and Bitcoin was launched a year after. Then the white paper, it brought to us the first time money could be and live on internet for the first time in history. And Bitcoin was born. And the first virtual currency that works, or where no one can fraud, duplicate, spending the money 2 times what we name like double spending. It's electronic. It's very scarce. It's peer-to-peer. You don't need someone in the middle to authorize the transaction happening between 2 people. It's storable. You can store Bitcoin on your own paper if you want. It's possible. You can store on an app. You can store on a digital wallet, like a hardware wallet. You can store that wallet offline without connection to internet. And then your crypto assets will be very secure over there. And that's the thing we call as self-sovereign money, because just you can have access and use and transact your money. No one can stop you from doing that. Bitcoin, to work, it rewards the effort for auditing all the transactions happening So when people say mining Bitcoin, maybe mining is not the correct word for that. Maybe the correct word is auditing, because a lot of people, and when I say people, I'm saying machines, computers, they are working to do auditing in all the transactions on Bitcoin to see if it's not being frauded or someone is trying to fraud. And the machine who has the most processing power, the faster it is, the computer faster it is, more reliable is to receive a reward for doing the auditing. So Bitcoin is rewarded by auditing the transactions, and the faster person, computer, doing that job will be rewarded with Bitcoins created by the network and delivered to the person who won that race. And it's very consensual. Everything that happens in the network, since from the coding, the programmers, the developers doing code, we have consensus in the layer where people are developing Bitcoin. We have consensus in the layer of auditing all the transactions, because it's important. The entire network should agree with every transaction that happened there. There's like no way someone can do something that the rest of the network is not seeing, is not being able to look at the transaction, all the information of the transaction, and see what happens over there. So Bitcoin is very transparent and auditable. So the blockchain, after Bitcoin being created, a lot of people started looking into the infrastructure of Bitcoin to try to understand how can we use this thing beyond the cryptocurrency, because the cryptocurrency works very well, very, very well. But can we do other things with the infrastructure? Then looking into that, we saw like a place where we can write something and no one can delete. No one can change what was written on Bitcoin blockchain. So it makes the perfect ledger, the perfect database for public documents. Like for Bitcoin to work, it needs to store all the transactions that happened since Bitcoin was launched. So it is storing all the registries of all the historical transactions. It doesn't need to rely on a centralized entity for working. So computers around the world, like thousands, tens of thousands of computers, are maintaining the entire database, the same database. So that's why we say Bitcoin is a distributed database, a distributed ledger, because all the computers that are connected to the network, they can have a copy of the entire database with all the transactions. And because of consensus, if someone changes something just in their database, the rest of the network will not recognize that change. And then it will not be accepted. So it's decentralized, no central point of failure, distributed with thousands of computers supporting the network. Then we have an infrastructure based on consensus. It's unstoppable, it's unblockable. So we can say blockchain is a public ledger where all transactions made using cryptocurrencies in general are stored. That's the same for Ethereum. That's the same for, I don't know, Polygon. That's the same for Solana and others. And how a blockchain works. So guys, is it okay until now? Because if you have questions, you can just let me know, like ask the question, then the person with the microphone will ask me and then I can answer, okay?
Sure, sure.
Anytime.
We got you. Please go ahead.
Okay. How blockchain works? Imagine a box. a very limited box. And on that empty box, we start to put information, digital information, like a storage, like, I don't know, a pen drive. A pen drive is very limited. And you can put information there until the pen drive is fulfilled. The blockchain, each block of a blockchain has almost the same feature, the same aspect. We have an space of a very limited space in megabytes, then it appears empty. Then a miner on Bitcoin network starts to select transactions that are on a memory, a very volatile memory. We name it as mempool. So it gets the transactions from that memory and started to put in a box. In Bitcoin, we have a 10-minute window for putting the transactions on that box, that empty box. Then after filling the entire box, then it closes the box. How it closes the box? With cryptography. We name it as a hash. So that hash locks that block, and then the miner sends that block, that closed block, to the entire network. If the miner was the first one to broadcast that box to the entire network, and the network accepts that because it's not wrong, it's correct, it was not frauded, everything is okay, then the miner will receive the reward for doing that work. So for putting every transaction on that box, on that block, they need to do auditing every transaction. And after closing the box and proposing that block to the entire network, every computer connected to Bitcoin blockchain, to the Bitcoin's network, will do auditing in the block and all transactions inside the block. So it is audited multiple times. Then let's say it was accepted by the network. Then the network starts with an empty block again. Then they started, all the miners around the world start to choose transactions to put inside that new box, the new block. Then they start to put transactions over there. The first one who can do all the calculations and close that block first, it proposes again to the network. If the network accepts, then we start again with a new block, empty block. Then they will do the same, get all the transactions, put in a block, prepare the block. They first close the block, propose the block. If the block was accepted by the network, then he receives the reward, and so on. And then you can see in this this chart, all the blocks, they are enchained. So we had the first block with transactions, it was closed. Then we had the second block with transactions and it was closed. And one interesting thing, to make it a blockchain, the lock that closes the block is the first information that enters in the new block. That's why we call it a blockchain, because we are enchaining those informations. So the lock that closes the previous block starts the next block. Then they put all the transactions, close the block. The lock from the previous block starts the next block. That's the way we can say it is a blockchain. And one interesting thing, if some information is changed on a previous block, let's say in the first block from our chain, they need to change, because the lock will change. The lock is a cryptographic calculation on top of all the transactions over there, all the information inside the block. So if an A is changed in the first in the first block over here, the lock will change. And this changed lock is not the same lock that opened the next block. you see? Then it's almost impossible to change previous information. Sometimes something happens in more advanced ways, like we can some miner sent a new information and the last block was changed. So the older the block is, harder is to change, because they need to change also the entire chain starting from the block where the information was changed. So the older is the chain, the older is the block, harder is to change it and having it accepted by the rest of the network. So one block sometimes happens, this block is discharged, then they get this block and put another block in the front. Sometimes it happens, the kind of shuffling the network, but we name it like reordering those blocks. But more than 6 blocks is almost impossible something to happen. Okay, that's why in Bitcoin and even in Ethereum, they produce more blocks per hour than Bitcoin. Bitcoin is like 6 blocks per hour. So since because of mathematics, there's a chance of the 60 block being changed. There's a very small change of being changed. Then we say to confirm a transaction, a Bitcoin transaction, we need to wait it happened 6 blocks after where the transaction was stored. You understand that? That's why many systems, they say, after doing a Bitcoin transaction, we need to wait 1 hour to confirm, or 6 confirmations to confirm that that transaction can't be undone, like can't be undone. You can't do anything more, can't change, can't modify, can't anything after 6 blocks. It's impossible. On Ethereum, it takes more blocks, so they have the average time, the same time in average, like 1 hour to confirm. Some companies or places, they accept less confirmations for a transaction. But in general, to be secure, to be safe of receiving that money and not reversing the transaction, 6 confirmations, 1 hour of the confirmation done, it's safe to say it can't be reversed. Okay? So it happens for all the blockchains almost. And for the consensus mechanisms, we have a lot of different consensus mechanisms. On Bitcoin, we call it proof of work. So proof of work is very easy to understand, because the more powerful you are in computing, like in processing, the faster you are, more computing power you have, bigger are your chances to receive the reward. Because you are faster, we said before, it's about some kind of competition. The miners are competing in the network to be the first one to block the block and propagate the block to the network. So the first who does that, and then the block is accepted by the network, then they receive the reward. So proof of work is exactly this. They prove they were working a lot, and working how? Having and making available a lot of processing power. Thousands of computers working together, a lot of processing, doing cryptographic calculations at the same time to see who will be the first one on doing that. And that's the proof of work. Is to understand you proved, you worked a lot, you produced a lot of energy, or you deliver energy to do something in the network, then higher are your chances to be the first. proof of stake is different. It means the more money you put in the network, higher, bigger are your chances to be rewarded. So instead of computing power, making it available to the network, you make available to the network money in the cryptocurrency of the network, like on Ethereum. On Ethereum, you can do stake. By doing stake, you get a bunch of ethers. That's the currency of Ethereum. You get a lot of ethers, 32 ethers, lock them on a smart contract, then you will be able to not mining, but to validate blocks and transactions on Ethereum. That's why proof of stake is different. It doesn't rely on computing power, but rely in economic power. More power, more money, more crypto you have in that chain, bigger are your chances of validating a block, of being chosen to validate a block. And we have a lot of others. We have federated models. We have delegated proof of stake. For example, on Ethereum, they started talking about proof of stake, but the real thing that happens over there is delegated proof of stake. Why? Because 32 ethers is a lot of money, a lot of money. And it's not for everyone to have like 32 ethers available to start staking. So what they did is you can delegate your ethers to someone who has more ethers or are concentrating ethers from other people. Then after it reaches 32 ethers, then they put it to validate. So you are delegating your ethers to someone who promised to you they will do the validation and distribute the rewards to you after that thing. Sometimes, or most of times, they charge a fee for doing that, for helping you on the staking. So they get a fee. We have leader elect. Leader elect is a consensus protocol, very easy to understand because you just elect a leader and everything that leader says, the entire network will trust. It's like that. The leader say, oh, I believe this transaction is okay. Then the rest of the network will just follow the leader and trust that that transaction is pretty okay. Okay. We have proprietary consensus models where some companies, they are doing their own consensus models and others. But we'll focus over here today in proof of work and proof of stake because the biggest chains, the biggest blockchains are using those protocols. Then they started, they worked a lot, and the biggest two chains, the Bitcoin and Ethereum chain, they prove it. Proof of stake works and proof of work works and work very well. And talking about centralization to the decentralization. So when United States is issuing dollars, so all the dollars, they are issued on North America and sent to the other continents, to the other countries. But when we are talking about decentralization, we are talking about something that everyone in every place can do without needing a permission for doing that. So you can mine Bitcoin or validating Ethereum in your home. It's expensive today because it's like an industrial job, not anymore like doing a personal for hobbyists doing something in your home anymore. It's not easy like that. In the past it was, but today not anymore. But you can. If you have money enough, or for buying miners, mining machines, or for staking ethers in some place, then you can be a validator in Ethereum also. But everyone is invited to do, because no one can stop you from doing that. And then we have the hybrid or federated model, where some companies, they are building their own blockchains. They are not fully public. Some part of them are private, and they need some permission to connect some nodes to other nodes. And it's not like totally decentralized. It's not totally centralized, but it's hybrid. So we have some layers of decentralization around some specific nodes. Then those nodes are connecting and transacting information with the other nodes in the network. Then, using blockchain as a protocol, we started to see other things we could do with Bitcoin, firstly, then after with Ethereum that came years after. So we have right now a lot of new business models. We have a lot of financial inclusion. We are reducing costs of many things, very bureaucratic things being done by the governments or being done by banks. You can see, probably you know, a lot of people and companies, they are using stable coins instead of using the fiat money, because they don't want to talk to banks anymore. And receiving stable coins, they can do it by themselves and talking just to their customers. And we can have smart contracts. We can kill the red tape and the bureaucracy, and we can have autonomous governance also. Then Ethereum came to the market. In the very beginning, a lot of people were, we talked about it today yet, about smart contracts. Most of us, we heard about smart contracts. But smart contracts is not the correct term for that thing. And I will explain why. It's easier to understand it as a decentralized application, because all of them are applications. And they are applications running on a decentralized network. So they are decentralized applications. For some of them, they are contracts between two parties, two or more parties, doing agreements. But most of them, they are just applications running on a decentralized network, a decentralized computer. So Ethereum was built to be a decentralized computer to run decentralized applications. But for somehow, they named it as smart contract. And it's not smart. And it's not a contract most of the time. But one thing I can say for sure, it was the first time in our history that an application could manage their own financial resources. And it's crazy because imagine like an autonomous car. The car can handle their own money. They can get their customers and transport people between two places, charge people for a fee for doing that service. They can find a place to solve some problem with the car, to buy gas or recharge electricity. So for the first time in history, an application can manage their own financial resources by their own without relying on another server or another computer. It means all the applications, the decentralized applications running on Ethereum, for example, and started on Ethereum, they are running by themselves. There are no servers behind. It's totally different, the cloud infrastructure we know as today. Like, I want to build an application, I will store it or use Amazon services. I will use Google services, Google Cloud services. I will use Microsoft Azure services, web services, so cloud services. And then a lot of things are happening because we don't need to rely anymore in servers, like renting servers to run our applications. One time our application is deployed to the blockchain, no one can stop it anymore. Unless someone has a key or a backdoor to stop the application. So we'll talk it a little later, but it's something that happens. It's not because the application is running on a decentralized layer, a decentralized network. It is fully decentralized because mostly in Ethereum and all the networks, most of the smart contracts deployed, the centralized applications deployed, the centralized exchanges deployed, NFTs, and all the things you are seeing over there, they are not fully decentralized because someone, a company, a person, or a group of people have a key to stop or change something in that decentralized application. It's crazy to understand, to believe that sometimes, but that's the thing that happens in this network, in this ecosystem. No smart contract is fully decentralized, but they run on a decentralized network. So if no one is stopping it, like having the key or access to stop it, it will not stop. Then we have a lot of potential cases for blockchain use. We can track physical objects like diamonds, paintings, trees. We can track commercial flows. We can transport data. We can use it to record public records like real estate, land, vehicle registration, business license, passports, IDs, transfer of any property. Probably you heard about RWAs, like real world assets. So people are linking some real world assets to the blockchain through tokenization. And that's the kind of thing we can do using blockchain. We can register there intangibles like patents, trademarks, reservations, domain names, financials. Then it's the most common use for blockchains because the cryptocurrency. So money, stocks, loans, investment, crowdfunding. For voting, I developed in 2018 the first protocol for secret vote on public blockchains, and it's public on my GitHub. And then you can have voting, very secure voting on blockchain. Banks, they are using private blockchains to consolidate information and public blockchains to facilitate international remittance. We can use it on supply chain for inventory tracking, for example. So we have a lot of potential cases for smart contracts for blockchain applications. A lot. So we improve a lot the efficiency of governance in general. Are we okay till now? Can I go on?
Please. Yes, we are following.
Okay. I'll carry on. Let's talk about scaling blockchains because it's hard to scale a blockchain. If the blockchain is very decentralized and very secure, the scalability is horrible, like Bitcoin. It's the most decentralized, the most secure, but to scale Bitcoin is hard. So people sometimes they argue, oh, Bitcoin is so slow because a transaction there happens in 10 minutes. Well, it's a payoff. So here we have the scalability trilemma. The scalability trilemma, we can put here any blockchain. And no one, until now, no blockchain has solved the scalability trilemma until now. So all the blockchains, they are trying to solve it. Some of them, they are faster, but then they have problems with decentralization. Sometimes they are just secure, very secure, but then they are centralized. We have some examples of blockchains over here. We have Cardano. Cardano has a very good decentralization and scalability, but the security, someone can argue it's not so secure. Some Ripple, the scalability and security of Ripple, it's good, but it's very centralized. So it scales very well, but for scaling very well, it should be centralized, having just a few nodes controlled by private entities doing the job of validating things. That's the problem. So this is one of the most important information you have today. It's hard to solve the scalability trilemma because you can have two of the items, but then the third one will be missing. Somehow, they will not be good in the third. It's almost impossible, until now, I don't know tomorrow, but now it's almost impossible to have the three vertices here at the same time on a blockchain. And then people are talking about a lot of layers. We have second layers, like Bitcoin is the first layer. So how, because we can't scale Bitcoin very well, like beyond 10 minutes, being faster than that, etc. People started to develop a lot of things around those first layer chains. Like on Ethereum, we have a lot of side chains and second layers happening on Ethereum. So because of Ethereum has a problem with scalability also, they built like Arbitrum. Arbitrum is another network that's connected to Ethereum. Arbitrum is faster than Ethereum many times. Optimism is another layer. Base from Coinbase is another second layer connected to Ethereum. So they handle all the transactions by themselves. They have a lot of centralization layers because like, who is running Base? The Coinbase, the exchange. It's not like very decentralized being ran by computers around the world. No, just Base and a few more computers are running or doing the validation in that network. Binance, like they have just 24 validators for the BNB network. So it's like very centralized, very, very centralized. Polygon, same thing. Solana is a good example here because the scalability of Solana is pretty good. Solana is very secure, but they have a problem with decentralization. Just a few nodes, it's not like thousands, tens of thousands of validators. They have just, like, I don't know, 100 validators doing the job. And it's very expensive to run a validator on Solana. So it's fast, scale very well, very secure and safe. Sometimes it stops working, but it's safe. But the decentralization, we can question that. And that's why we are building those chains, new chains and technology around those first layers. So we have blockchains, first layer blockchains, then we have the second layer blockchains. And we have generations also. Bitcoin is the first generation being a transactional blockchain, just for transacting value. Ethereum came to the market to do processing. So instead of just transacting value, we can build decentralized applications also. Then the third generation with Ethereum also, we have Polkadot, we have Polygon, we have Cardano, we have Solana, and many others. And Ethereum right now, we should talk about Ethereum because it was the first blockchain to prove in large scale that stake can work. So as I said in the beginning, stake is, well, we can become a validator on Ethereum by your economic power, different comparing to Bitcoin, where processing power, computing power, is the thing that will help you to receive the reward. In Ethereum, your economic power will help you to receive your rewards. And as I said before, you need right now 32 ethers to do the staking. And they are talking about raising that number in the future. Then the upgrades, let me see how many time we have. Okay. So I'm just managing the time right now. So proof of stake, it's managed by another new chain they introduced in the Ethereum ecosystem. They have an execution layer right now, and they have also the consensus layer. So the proof of stake, it's managed by a smart contract in the execution layer, okay? So Ethereum works with at least 2 layers, and they are bringing more layers to the Ethereum network also. Here is, I think it's not a very up-to-date, yeah, almost. Because we had the mainnet when Ethereum was proof of work. Then they connected the beacon chain over here to do the consensus. Then at some point, they eliminated this layer and everything was in the same network. So they are doing this on Ethereum to make it more scalable. So you have, instead of just one layer doing everything on Ethereum, now they have different chains working as layers to help each other to do the processment of all the transactions in the network. So where we say shards, we are saying every layer, every network layer of this network working together to process all the transactions happening over there. Well, we have another concept here to talk about different types of blockchain: permissioned, permissionless, public, and private. And I will give you some examples because it's very important. When you are building applications, when you are building products on blockchain, you need to choose the blockchain where your product will work. And sometimes you don't need to everything be public, like Bitcoin. You don't need everything public on a public blockchain. But sometimes, yes, it's good, like Bitcoin. It needs to be transparent. It needs to be auditable. It needs to be distributed and decentralized. Then we can have a public blockchain that is permissionless, and we can have a private blockchain that is permissionless as well. So permissionless, you can understand, you don't need authorization from anyone to connect to that blockchain. In this case, LTO network and Monet, they are blockchains, they are private, but you don't need to ask for permission to work on that. In other cases, like Ripple, EOS, or Sovereign, they are public. They are working on public. You can see the transactions, but to connect your node over there, you need to have a permission from someone from the network to connect there. So it's public and permissioned. So some rights are reserved. And in the same sense, we can have a very closed blockchain. They are private and permissioned. So many of the companies around the world that are building their own blockchains, they are working in this part of this chart. They are private and permissioned. So Just the company has access to the data over there, and to every single node inside the network of the company who needs access to those information need to ask for permission. That's the thing. And one example of a permissioned blockchain from R3 Corda, they are private, permissioned for companies. A lot of banks, they were trying blockchain through Corda. The IBM, they built the Hyperledger Fabric. It's open source, but for building your blockchains using that thing, it should be private. You need to run this blockchain on AWS, for example, and all the nodes who will connect to your blockchain should have a permission. Quorum is another blockchain, permissioned, can be private or public, for companies also. The name is Quorum. It's built for Ethereum. It has a public aspect, a public layer where it's connecting to the real Ethereum, and they have a private layer where all the information is confidential, all the information is encrypted. For companies, these were being highly used, and they liked it a lot of this blockchain. And let's talk about use cases. Lightning Network. Did you all download the Blink wallet that I asked in the very beginning of this presentation? Lightning Network is a second layer built on top of Bitcoin to make transactions faster. So as I said, Bitcoin has a 10 minutes time for a transaction being included on a block. And then after being included in that block, many companies and e-commerces, merchants in the market, they wait for 1 hour, 6 blocks, to confirm that transaction can't be reversed. So it's painful. I know it's a lot painful. Then people, because of that, people were talking about, and what if we build some new network connected to Bitcoin where you can put some Bitcoin over there, and then after that, the Bitcoins can be transacted in high speed, in lightning speed. That's the way the name Lightning Network. Like you can have millions of transactions per second on Lightning Network. Very scalable, a lot of thousands, tens of thousands of nodes supporting Lightning Network right now. And you can do a transaction in seconds. It will be confirmed in seconds instead of 10 minutes. So much faster, can handle a lot of big transactions. A lot of exchanges, they are supporting Lightning Network right now. So Binance, for example, even Coinbase. Coinbase, I don't remember if they are. I think they are. You can withdraw your funds from there directly to the Lightning Network. We can have autonomous objects. Like I said during the presentation, I talk about an autonomous car. But the first autonomous object that was built was in 2016. It was a lock. Exactly, a lock. A lock for a door. They built an autonomous lock connected to a blockchain where that lock could be part of an apartment to be rented or on a hotel. Instead of talking to the hotel, you could talk to the lock and ask the lock where the room, the apartment, could be available. Then the lock could tell you the prices for blocking it in that schedule. You could pay directly to the lock, send the money with Ethereum directly to the lock. Then you could just show up to the lock and prove you are who you are saying you are with a digital identity, then the apartment would be available. For the time it was you were paying. Then if the lock had some issue, some problem, it was broken, I don't know, it could find, look into the market to find for a service to do the repair, hire the company to do the repair because the lock had the money, and then at the end of the month it was just distributing the profits with the company who created the lock. I saw a message here appearing like, I'm sorry guys, I was not looking into the chat, but if you have questions, you can just ask, okay? No problem. But I saw something happening in the screen at my side, but if you have any questions, just ask. So it was crazy what they built. And imagine a car when the demand for a car like there's happening an event, and like we know, Uber, they make the prices higher, the dynamic pricing. The prices are higher in some locations because the demand for cars are higher. So they increase the price. Imagine a car, autonomous car, getting their customers. If there are not enough cars in some place for all the people that are asking for the cars, the car can hire another car, can call another car to the network and say, if you come to attend those customers, I will pay you. It's crazy, but it will happen. The car can pay for the gas or for the recharge, the electrical recharge, can pay for the maintenance, and after everything, it can share the profits to the owners of the business. So we can have autonomous governance and autonomous objects, because as I said in the very beginning, Ethereum was the first time an application can manage their financial resources for the first time. So it's crazy, and that's the most beautiful thing that's happening right now. Arcade City, the problem Uber had on Texas, like Uber had problems with taxi drivers around the world. And in Texas, people can handle guns in the streets. So Uber was not able to work over there. And some people, then they created Arcade City, where you could hire a car, a driver, paying in cryptocurrency, and no one could stop this system from working because there was no company behind that. Like Uber. Uber is a company. A lot of companies for doing this driver's service, they are companies behind. But Arcade City, they built the thing to be open source. And then the driver could just have the app, no company, and receiving cryptocurrencies directly the payments for the run. Theta, they are doing like streaming. It's a video delivery, like Netflix. Netflix is delivering video. Amazon Prime is delivering video. And they are doing this kind of thing also through blockchain. Instead of having an infrastructure based on Amazon or on Google Video or on Microsoft something, you can have some decentralized infrastructure for storing and distributing videos like Netflix does. But Netflix is centralized. And you can build your own business for delivering streaming using Theta. USDC and other stable coins, they are companies having reserves in fiat money or government treasury, Then for each dollar they have in the bank account, they issue a digital token. For each dollar in a bank account, a digital token, $1 digital token. Then they put that in the market. Circle did that as smart contract on Ethereum. USDT, the Tether, they created a new blockchain for doing that kind of thing. And now they are competing, the stable coins around the world, they are competing to the digital money being issued by governments. It's crazy, but they are issued by private companies. In Argentina, for example, stable coins are saving the lives of people over there because the money, the currency in Argentina has no value anymore. And people are transacting dollars, but instead of carrying dollars, they are using USDTs, tokenized dollar. People are building blockchain for transacting stocks, shares in companies. Filecoin is doing decentralized storage. Like we know about like OneDrive from Microsoft. We have Dropbox. We have other companies doing storage and selling storage space where you can pay a monthly fee for having more space to store your pictures, like Google Drive from Google or Google Photos for storing your pictures, something like that. Then Filecoin started doing something where people around the world, they are sharing their own storages, like your computer storage, will be shared, a part of that will be shared in the network, and you will be rewarded by the storage you are making available for this network, for this decentralized network. And we have Filecoin, we have Arweave, they are doing a very good job in this field. Storage is another blockchain trying to do the storage. So we are starting to see the centralization of the internet infrastructure right now. ICP, it's a token where they are decentralizing the web server. Like instead of putting your website on a centralized server like on Amazon or hiring some service to store your website, you can put it on a decentralized network. So no one, it will be always available. There are no servers to stop working like my server did today earlier, because you have a lot of servers helping in the network to make your website available. Let's talk about CBDCs. CBDCs, they are not stable coins. They are totally different. Stable coins, they are issued by companies, and the companies should, not always they have, but they should have a reserve that confirms each token issued to the market. A lot of stablecoin companies, they are just creating money without having the reserves. Then it's a huge problem to the market, entire market. But then the governments, they started to see, oh, a lot of people are using cryptocurrencies. Cryptocurrency is good, it's faster. The infrastructure is pretty cheap compared to the government infrastructure, to the state infrastructure for the financial system, for the banks, for everything. It's open source. Most of the services are open source. So anyone can go to the code, understand how it works, and implement it by yourself. Then, well, the governments, they saw Bitcoin. They didn't like Bitcoin because they can't control it. Then they said, okay, and what if we create our own currency and we put it in the hands of the people? We have some issues. We have some problems with that because cash money is supposed to be confidential. So a transaction with paper money, we just do the cash to another person, and then it's not registered in any place. In Brazil, uh, we had a director of a huge bank over there, one of the biggest, saying something like this: during the COVID times, if we had the CBDC already launched over here, we could restrain the the place where people could spend money. It's crazy. Someone on that level saying that kind of thing. Like we could restrict, we could block people from buying things outside a neighbor. For example, it's crazy because it have it has a potential for surveillance and for invading the privacy and controlling people. Because if a government know everything about your financials, can see where, when, for whom you are spending money, and they can control that and say, oh, you are above your, I don't know, carbon limits, then you can't buy gas for your car this week. I know it's crazy, it's utopic, it's like we hope it never happens. But if a government's more uh, authoritative, they are more like not so friendly. Let's say it could be a very and powerful weapon in their hands against opposition, someone who thinks different, or just someone they don't like. So CBDCs, they have the potential to bring more people to the financial system, because we know a lot of people do not have access to banks. Banks doesn't like those people, and they does not work with them. Then people using a CBDC, if the government issue the CBDC straight to the people, then a lot of debanked people will have access to the financial system having money. But just if the government issues the money straight to the people. But like a lot of countries around the world, they are issuing money, digital money, sending to the banks, and then the bank will decide to whom they will deliver the digital money. So we have a lot of problems and a lot of discussions happening in the world because of that. So we have problems with censorship. We have problems and questions about privacy, surveillance, and everything. And here we have Ghana. Ghana is piloting the CBDC right now. So in this site, the Atlantic Council CBDC tracker, you can see all the countries around the world that are developing, piloting, studying, or running their own CBDCs right now. So more than 40 countries in the world are already studying the thing. Just a few already launched it, and most of them, they are doing the pilots. They are just testing and understanding how it could work. Here in Europe, people are studying a lot, the European governments, they are studying how to put the CBDC, the digital euro, in the hands of people, because they did a survey and people said, we don't trust the government having all the control of the digital money. And then they are trying to do something different to make people more friendly to the idea of the issuing of a digital euro. They are trying to do something. And in Brazil, they are studying. United States, they stopped it because of Trump right now. They stopped everything about the development and research in CBDCs. In Russia, they are running something over there. In China, it's very well developed. They are running the CBDCs for a lot of years already in China. In Africa, Nigeria, they have the CBDC already launched, and just a few other countries have the CBDC already launched already. Then DeFi. Well, we were talking about other uses for blockchain applications and everything, but we can have a decentralized finance, and people are building a lot of applications in that field. Probably the biggest field for blockchain right now is decentralized applications. People are doing that like MakerDAO. They are doing a stable coin issued, controlled or with reserves in cryptocurrencies, not in fiat money. But right now they are trying to do fiat money or government treasury and something like that. We have other decentralized trading protocols like Uniswap. You don't need to go to a Binance or Coinbase or Kraken or any other centralized exchange to trade your fiat money for cryptocurrency. You can use decentralized trading protocols right now for trading any kind of digital token to another. You can like lend your cryptocurrencies to other people. People are renting cryptocurrencies. Then they are paying for that. Then you can have yield for lending your cryptocurrency. You can do that even without the cryptocurrency. Sometimes people are doing something named flash loans. They do a lot of calculations and they don't have the enough cryptocurrencies, but they borrow more cryptocurrencies than they have. It's a crazy thing they are doing on Aave. You can stake Ether on Ethereum using like Lido Finance. Lido Finance is a platform where if you do not have the 32 Ether to stake and being a validator and receiving the rewards for being the validator, they can do the stake in behalf of you. So you put your Ether in their hands, so it's not yours anymore. You put your Ether in their hands, and then they will put those Ethers in stake for you. They will get a fee and pay you the rest of the thing. Yield farming. People issue token, get the token put on another place. Then they lend those tokens. They are rewarded with another tokens. Then they get the new tokens put in another platform. It's a crazy thing they are doing. Crazy, totally crazy, but it's working. You can trade. Yearn Finance is a place they can automate all the process of getting the rewards for you. We have identity cases for applications in blockchains also. BitNation was one of the first. Uport came after, creating a decentralized identity for people. Ion is a decentralized identity in Bitcoin, on Bitcoin blockchain. Polygon ID, they created a very reliable way for doing IDs on blockchains. Original Mine, my company, we are doing the authentication of documents, like notarization of documents, because Brazil is like this. I am Brazilian. I live in Europe right now. I live in Estonia. But Brazil is like this. So every time you sign a document, you need to go to each notary where the signature is registered to get a stamp on top of that signature. And you have queues, you have a lot of people, a lot of time, and you spend a lot of money. Documents have a lot of stamps because different notaries need to stamp the documents for every signature. And we built everything about e-governance. So we did e-voting protocols. We did digital and authentication, document authentication protocols. We have tools for like creating proof of authenticity of web content, like defamation on Twitter or Instagram, videos, fake news, dissemination of disinformation, all the things people are doing on internet, our tools can capture that thing, create a legal document to be used in the court to show, to prove to the court that content was available on internet at that time. And in Brazil is our biggest market right now. And we have like hundreds of thousands of evidence being collected and preserved with our tools, and millions of documents being authenticated on blockchain. We did a project for signing public petitions and draft bills on blockchain also. 2 laws were approved in Brazil because of people proposing a new law, signing the public petition, the legislators voting the thing and approving. And the proof of authenticity we did during COVID times. We did the open prescription, a way for the doctor issuing a prescription and everything being digital, sending the prescription to the patient, who sent to the pharmacist, and the platform could validate the doctor, the pharmacist, the prescription, and everything without storing the prescription. So if the platform was like hacked, no personal data, no health data was available over there to be leaked. And the platform for e-voting, the secret voting on public blockchains, the HEL, it's an open source platform as well, available on original my GitHub. Then we were very awarded. We were participating in Horizon 2020. We are, they listed us on a UN report saying a real use case of blockchain for public institutions. I was invited by the Estonian government to be like an ambassador of their digital identity, the global digital identity. So I am a special ambassador for that. I was invited by the government, and we received even a Cannes festival. We got with some NFTs projects over there. Talking about GAOs, going to the end of our presentation. GAOs are ways for having an organization like a company, totally digital. And all the process of payments, receiving money, having the managing the treasury of your entity, everything being managed by smart contracts. So you for voting, even for voting in decisions of the company. So all the participants, they are not exactly shareholders, but they have some rights for voting in that project. So people are actively participating in those projects because they are helping to take decisions. And we have a lot of DAOs running right now. Even Uniswap, those platforms I showed, the decentralized trading platforms, MakerDAO doing the digital, automated stable coin, they are DAOs. They issue their own token. People who has those tokens they have the permission to vote in the company. It's not a company, sorry, it's not a company. It could be, but it's not. In the entity, let's say organization, decisions like, we want to implement another protocol. Then they ask the people and they vote with the tokens they have. So it's a different way the democracy is going to companies or organizations. And the different thing right now is when we have a company right now, we need to register our company in the place we are living, like probably companies in Ghana, they are registered in Ghana. Companies, Estonian companies are registered over here, Brazilian companies in Brazil, and they pay taxes locally and everything. But a DAO, they are global. You can have people participating from all around the world. You don't know who are the person who is voting in some budget or voting some decision. But they can participate because they have the tokens. They are putting money and resources to participate in that thing. That's one of the coolest things they are building in our ecosystem right now. Those are pretty cool. We had the metaverse. They are trying to do the metaverse. Meta, they are trying to do the metaverse. A lot of metaverse happened a few years ago. Most of them died, but some of them, they are working. Decentraland is pretty cool. I participated and showed to my community many events inside Decentraland. It's crazy. Even fashion events over there. It's crazy. It's a crazy place. And Sandbox. Roblox is centralized, but Sandbox is decentralized also. And they have a lot of events happening every year. For participating, you just need to download the app, create your avatar, and enter the metaverse. Then we arrive in NFTs, because metaverses and NFTs, they are very connected. NFTs is when you get something that's unique, exclusive, as an attribute. I'll give you another example, like real estate, certification, your graduation certificate could be stored on blockchain. It could be collectibles, digital collectibles, could be art, could be digital identities to be used for authenticating you in platforms or proving your identity to something. So they are unique. They are not cryptocurrencies, because cryptocurrencies, we understand they are a lot with the same value. And NFTs, they can be art, but they can be other things. They can have value or not. Like NFTs with value. On OpenSea, they have art, and a lot of CryptoPunks, they are very expensive. Bored Apes, they are not NFTs, very expensive also. CryptoKitties, Townstar, and a lot of others. But, for example, the guy who created the www, the World Wide Web, he created an NFT for the source code of the internet and sold that. He sold. Another case, Jack, ex-CEO of Twitter, he sold his first tweet as an NFT also. But in other case, we created a project with NFTs in Brazil, because at some point, a few years ago, the Brazilian governors, they were a little authoritarian. Then they were using public social media as their official communication channel to the people. But then it was the official channel for the government, but they started to ban or block some people, journalists, from having access to what they were saying. So if they were using the social media, public social media like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, everything, as their official channels for news, government news, they could not block journalists, for example. But they did. Then some people invited me to build something with them, and then we built sweet blocks. Sweet blocks were a cake for journalists who were blocked by the authorities, the government authorities, somehow. So every cake was different, depending of the way they were blocked. I will leave the link, and when with you after. I believe you downloaded Blink. I believe you downloaded the MetaMask, and you have your Ethereum address also. My server didn't come back, so it's down right now. The exercise, the practical exercise I was willing to do with you was like scanning the QR code and receiving Bitcoin immediately in real time. I can't do that because of my server. So I will ask you to scan this QR code, register in this form. I made this form just a few minutes before the presentation. Then you can put there your address on Blink and your Ethereum address also. Please do that. Then I will give you something from our presentation named POAP. It's a proof of participation. So if you participated, just go to this link, put your Blink address. It's something your name at blink.sv. Put your address there, put your Ethereum address there. Then I will send to you an NFT as a collectible, just because of your participation today, okay? And unfortunately, I can't do it online right now, but you can fill the form, and during this week, I will send you a few Satoshis and your NFT. Then, if you have questions, I'm open for questions. I know the time is almost over, but we are on time.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Edison, for that. Okay, please, I think the QR code that needs to be downloaded or something. Can you display? Yes.
Okay, I will leave in the QR code.
Okay, so I think they can download that. And we have some, whilst we do that, we have some few questions here, so we'll be taking that as well. So the first, we are taking about 2 questions. So
yeah.
Can I go ahead? Okay, my name is Samuel.
Question through Zoom or you will ask?
We'll ask from here, then we just respond. Yeah.
Right. My name is Samuel. I wanted to ask that, is there, what's the maximum amount of data a particular block can hold? Because we know that a block has to get locked for another block to start. So is it reliant on data, or there's another factor?
Yeah. Well, each blockchain, it has their own limits for storing data. If I understood correctly, you are asking me about how much data I can store on a blockchain. So the answer is depends on the blockchain we are trying to store data. Bitcoin is the most expensive. You have just a small space for storing arbitrary data over there, but it's expensive a lot. Ethereum is expensive also. And when we are developing new projects, we are doing something thinking about Polygon, Base, Arbitrum. They are cheaper for storing arbitrary data. Even Solana, it's pretty cheap for storing arbitrary data over there. And on Ethereum, Polygon, you can store more data, and they are cheaper. And on my company, we chose 4 blockchains. So the information is split in 4 different blockchains to manage all the things we need. So we use Decred, very good for storing information. We use Ethereum Classic. It's a fork of Ethereum that happened in 2016. We use Bitcoin and Ethereum. So for our needs, we need 4 blockchains for storing our things. For storing like ebooks, when I launched my book, I did ebooks also and created NFTs with those ebooks, and I distributed it to the community. I stored the full book using Arweave blockchain. because it was the cheapest blockchain for storing arbitrary data, bigger blocks of data. So I could store the entire book over there and paying like $1 for an entire book, something like that. And then, and Filecoin for storing data, like Dropbox. They are cheaper and you can store large blocks of data over there also. But Bitcoin is the most expensive for sure. Ethereum is the second most expensive. Then we can have Polygon, Base, Arbitrum, and others, second layers. They are cheaper for storing data. Okay?
Okay, thank you so much. I think there's a question online. How does the stable coin differ from the fiat currency since it is one-to-one?
I didn't get the question, sorry.
Okay, I think it's in the Zoom chat as well. So it stays.
It's on Zoom chat.
Yes,
That's
yes.
How does the stablecoin differ in value from the fiat currency since it's one-to-one? That's the question from Anderson Ezoa.
Yes, please.
Correct? Okay. It doesn't. The value is the same. Should be the same. Should be the same. The problem is, if the company does not have the reserve one-to-one, then that stablecoin can have less value, lose value. Or if the company has broken, like, I don't know, they had problems and then they need to close, then the token will value nothing. So it's a problem with stablecoins because we need to trust fully in the company who is issuing that token. But the stablecoin, I think the biggest difference comparing a stablecoin to the fiat currency is that it's digital. So it's easy to use. You can store on your digital wallet with you. You don't need a bank account. You don't need anything. Just have a digital wallet on your computer, on your browser, or an external device to store it offline, like a hardware wallet. And you can use for payments. There's some companies, a lot of companies, they are accepting. Example, a Circle made a partnership with, I forgot the name, it's the biggest e-commerce, one of the biggest e-commerces in the market. I forgot the name of the institution, but they did a partnership for people using stable coins over there. Alibaba on China, they will issue their own stable coin also. And why they are doing that thing? They are doing that because instead of needing to convert from dollar to another currency to pay the merchant, you can use any local exchange or get digital money with anyone on a peer-to-peer. Then you can convert it digitally in decentralized exchange to the stable coin and use the stable coin inside the e-commerce. So it makes a lot of sense to them because every time they send a stable coin to someone, people have already stored some money from the company. The company sold that money before, so they have a reserve already, and we will decide in the future if you buy something over there or not. But you already bought a product, a money, a ticket, and you will exchange that ticket with a product in the e-commerce in the future. So they already have the money. So for e-commerces, it makes a lot of sense because they are being paid in advance using stable coins. Okay.
Thank you.
Penny War Apollo asked, how do you generate profits from your Bitcoin on digital wallet? You don't. Like banks have interest. How does Bitcoin generate profits? Bitcoin does not generate profits being on your wallet. Bitcoin is like money. You can put that money to work for you. Like, if the problem is if you lend your Bitcoin. You are like giving your Bitcoin to the hands of other people. If they choose not to give you your Bitcoin back, you have no money anymore. So Bitcoin does not generate profits, okay? One Bitcoin always has the value of one Bitcoin. It's not increasing like magic, like a lot of people are doing. Some companies, they were saying, give me your Bitcoin and you will receive profits from your Bitcoin. How they do that? They do that because they get your Bitcoin and lend your Bitcoin to other people, or exchange your Bitcoin to another currency to use or lend to other people. That's why we had the problem with FTX in 2022, Celsius, United States, in the same year. They were getting the cryptocurrency of the people, and behind the curtains, they were doing things with those cryptocurrencies without the people knowing that. Then at some point, they have lost the cryptocurrency of the people. Then they were broken. So Bitcoin by itself does not generate profits, okay? Bitcoin is always one Bitcoin has the value of one Bitcoin always. People can have profits with Bitcoin if they give their Bitcoin to a company, to a person who will do something with that Bitcoin. Maybe they can lose it. Maybe they can be lucky. But most of times, people just lose everything, or run away with others' Bitcoin.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Edison, for that insight. Because of time, we'll be ending here. But before you go, please, the link you shared, I think, what should be at the Blink address and the Ethereum address? What should be there?
The link is for a form. Let me see if it's working. It's working.
Yes, so for the Blink address, what should be used?
Sorry, I didn't understand.
Okay, so it's asking your Blink address. So what should be there? And the other one also, what should be there?
The other one is the Blink address is the address that will be supplied by the Blink wallet. Okay. I asked you to download in the beginning of the presentation. And Ethereum wallet, you will get with the MetaMask, the other one. Let me go to the beginning of the presentation. Very fast, very fast. Just a second.
Yeah, so we need to download.
Here in the very beginning. Here. So the Blink, you will get in the www.blink.sv. Download that on your smart mobile phone. And the other one is MetaMask.
Okay.
Download those two. Then Blink and MetaMask, they will give you different addresses. Blink will give you something like an email, like your name at blink.sv. Then you fill the form with that address. And Ethereum will give you another address that starts with 0x. 0x and a lot of numbers and letters.
Oh, okay.
And put in that field the Ethereum address that was given to you by the MetaMask wallet.
Okay, okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Then after, I will get all those addresses, and then I will send this, something to you.
Okay, thank you so much for your time, and we really appreciate. Please, let's appreciate him for that. We really appreciate you as well, and we hope to keep in touch with you more. Thank you so much. We really enjoyed this.
So see you next year.
See you. Bye. See you. Thank you. Okay, it's been a long day, so I think before we go to our lunch, we are gonna just have an overview of how the consensus building is gonna go, so that we can think over the question. Then when we come back, then we get into that as well. So, Oga Boswe, please, just a brief one. Give us 2 minutes, okay? I know we need to go to lunch, but
Hello. How has it been so far? Great. So if you notice the address the last speaker gave, there was a .sv. Did you notice it? Yeah. What is that? Which country? Who knows? Okay, so that's part of your assignment for lunch. Okay, so we'll be having the consensus building, and I've posted it in the classroom already, so you can go to the classroom and have a look at it. And we are going to break into groups. Ladies, please number yourself 1 to 5. Cosway. 1, yes. Hello.
The ladies.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
5, 6.
No, 1 to 5.
1 to 5. Okay, so 5. So start again. 2. Yeah.
Is that all?
Yes, please.
Okay, so 1, please come here.
Other
2.
ones.
2, the other side.
So 2.
3. 3 can be at the other side.
Okay, 3.
Then 4 in the corner. 5 in the corner.
5. You can just be there, I think.
So 1,
Yeah.
2, 3, 4, and 5.
5. Yeah.
So you are all
Yeah,
1.
she's 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then the guys, you also start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
5. Okay.
So please start relocating.
So please, you can join the number.
Join your groups.
This is 1.
So let's continue.
This is 3. So please, 1. Yeah, 1, 2, 4, 5. Yes. So 5 is here. 4 is here. 3 is here. 5 is here. This lady. Yeah. 4 is here. 5 is here.
Dr. Patience, what's your number?
5.
5. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So they're coming to you
again.
Okay. Which group is that? 3. How come there are only 2?
Yeah. She was only 3 at the initial when we were counting the ladies.
Okay, so let's continue.
So 1, hello. 1, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so please share yourself among them. This 3, this 2, this 1, this 4, this 5. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, so please join them. You are 2. You join here. 2, right? No, this one. And
Okay.
this okay. But
Frank, you don't have a number? That's 5. Those are 5. Okay. Jeffrey, what's your number? 5?
No, 3.
3. Okay. So group 1, you are representing the government. Group 2, you are representing the ISP. Group 2,
Yeah, group 2.
ISP. Group 3, NGOs. Group 3, you are representing the NGOs and the end users. Group 4, you are representing the registry and the registrar. And group 5, the security. So the case at hand is 1. There are calls lately for platforms to be regulated. So Facebook and other digital platforms to be regulated. And there are various varying opinions based on the stakeholder that you belong to. So for instance, the ISP, they will say once it is being regulated, it means more people will not buy data. So it is not in their interest. The government will say one publication can cause a commotion and should be deleted, and the platform should be regulated. The security will also go in the tangent of, in the name of so-called security, we have to regulate the platforms. So the end users will cry for their rights being infringed upon. So we are going to form a working group to discuss this issue. And in working groups, it's said that you must be able to come at a resolution that is acceptable to everybody. So you could have your stance, but you must now move from your stance and agree with other options that are available so that everybody will have a policy that is acceptable to all the stakeholders. Do you understand the exercise? Okay, so in your various groups during lunch time, so we are going for lunch now, use your various groupings now and during lunch time to discuss how, in what opinions you are going to the discussion with. Please take the exercise very seriously. It comes with plenty surprises. Have you heard me? Everybody engage very actively. So you are all returning here at 4:05, which is in 20 minutes. By then you have had enough discussions. Please, everybody participate actively. The rest, yes, Frank.
So as a group, we are supposed to agree on that point you are mentioning.
So in your group,
yes,
what argument are you taking to the working group?
As you mentioned, we should say that in the because of security, we feel it must be regulated.
You must have reasons. So you don't just say it must be regulated. Why must it be regulated?
Okay.
And you must take into consideration what the others will also say.
In order to
win them into your ears. So you should be willing to give in. Yes. So you are coming to debate over it. For the last time, everybody should participate actively. Or we come back, the rest will follow. So please know your group members. If possible, write their names and get, so that somebody will not run that the person is interested in security, so is running into the security group. So whilst having lunch, let's have this discussion and we come back at 4:05 for the debate to start. And it is called the consensus building exercise. So see you all at 4:05. Enjoy the lunch.
Bye.
Yes.
So please, let's go for lunch as well. We have just 10 minutes for lunch.